Hello, Andy, Joshua, can you hear me?
Yo, loud and clear.
With 3 up so far, so if we do lose Josh, we'll be just following a trend. But it would be nice to keep him around. Welcome back to the Batteries Not Included talk show, live stream, chat shit, get pissed show, which is going live on the Bespoke YouTube channel and on the Arabs Facebook stream. So feel free to comment and get involved. And we will be accepting anybody that wants to pop on the stream and have a chat with us until our guest may or may not arrive. So anyway, guys, how you been? How's COVID life been treating you? And are you prepared for Christmas that is coming up next week?
I'm going to wait till Josh says something because I don't think anybody's ever heard him speak on the show.
It'd be like that guy in, what's it called? Ali G, when he doesn't speak, he goes, and then when he talks, he's got like a really squeaky voice.
What's the it's fucking Jay and Silent Bob, but it's Andy and Silent Josh.
Andy and Silent Josh, yeah. So how we been? How you been, guys? How's life treating you?
Ticking on, enjoying the weather. It's been nothing but raining for the last... I can't remember the last time I saw the sun down in Cornwall, to be honest. Yeah.
No? The sun capital.
Yeah, we get liquid sunshine all the time. What's the weather like up your ways? Because obviously Andy's down my way a bit, but I don't know what it's like up north.
Oh, sorry, mate. I'm tier 2. We don't talk to tier 1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's my privilege, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, tier 1.
Oh, yeah, Cornwall tier 1.
Well, we've been through 2 lockdowns now. I'm in tier 3 where I live. I'm in tier 3 where we work and where the shop is. But to be honest, nothing's changed. Really, has it?
No.
Just as many cars on the road, just as many people hanging about.
Yeah.
You know, we had an altercation with some people in the Bespoke shop not wanting to wear face masks, but yeah. Apart from that, we've been tickety-boo. People coming in, talking. Nice to see faces again. Nice to see regular customers coming in. I think you'll probably appreciate that as well, Josh.
It's good having a good old catch up and send a load of people because when you don't see them for a month, it's one of those
seeing faces that you don't really see very often. But then you open your doors again, people pop in and talk to you, and it does mean a lot. And it's probably something that I wanted to have a chat with to you, Andy, as well. Before, obviously, if our guest obviously makes it on the show, you've obviously been. Are you part of that airsoft mental health group on Facebook?
Man Down.
Man Down. Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
It's probably one of the most important things to think about with this pandemic and lockdown and COVID, and just not being able to get to games and go and socialise with each other and shoot the crap out of each other. And do you see much on that page? Are you seeing much of the same thing?
I've got some sort of interference. I didn't catch the last part of it there. It did show up on there that if I'm going through iOS, there might be some issues. You talked about Man Down and like maybe some of the tone of what's going on in Man Down at the moment.
Are you seeing many people struggle with their sort of mental health in regards to they can't get out and see each other at the moment? We love to get out and shoot the shit out each other on the weekend.
Yeah.
So now that we can't do that, I mean, what's the natural consensus of people's mental stability at the moment?
I think if I look at Man Down, I used to be really interactive with it. I tend to be an observer more than now and everything. And the good thing about that group is it deals with stuff on a week-to-week, day-to-day basis. So I think whether you're in COVID or lockdown, Tyler, Keith, and Sophie who run that page along with a few other people, I think. I don't think it changes as a result of what's going on with lockdown. It has an effect, but actually the core issues to do with mental health are probably dealt with at Man Down. Then rather than just it's COVID related or in fact there's very little airsoft conversation goes on in there, so the group, I think the group's amazing. Me and one of the guys who's an admin there, we had quite a I don't go to ballpark this, but we had quite a confrontational conversation about Arabs, and he'd been in Arabs for about 10 minutes and then dipped out and said it's the most toxic place that he's ever been in. I was like, okay, well, you've got Man Down, and that deals with one way of dealing with mental health, which is to have a constructive conversation about it and get to grips with all the symptoms and causalities. And Arabs is the polar opposite of dealing with things to do with like mental health, which we've had lots of streams. So it's an amazing group. It does what it does. We deal with it in one way. We're like a verbal punch bag, and they have a really constructive conversation about some of the core issues. And I've watched some people very, very much open up, you know, about what they've got going on there. But to answer your question, I don't think it's COVID specific. It's the whether COVID was here, COVID-19, 2021. Whatever's going on, they would still deal with the core issues that people are dealing with. So, so hold tight, Tyler from Man Down. Hold tight, Keith from Man Down. Hold tight, Sophie.
Well, you know, if what is the group, Andy? If people are struggling a little bit and they feel like that group might help them, what is the group? How do they find it?
It's called Man Down Airsoft. That's all I know it as.
Man Down Airsoft.
Let me just get onto here, and I shall just check my. I shall just check Facebook. Man Down Airsoft. Let me just look at Facebook. See, for those of us that still use something called a laptop, and search.
I still use a laptop. What's wrong with a laptop?
Man Down Airsoft mental health. It's quite strict in there in terms of you can't go off the handle. You certainly can't do just random posts about bullshit. No memes. It's very structured. What they also do in there is they have MS Teams meetings, you know. So Teams allows 30, 40 people, I believe, maybe more if you've got a larger account. But yeah, I mean, there's some stuff on there. I'm not going to go into it because I'm reading it. I don't want to talk about the stuff that's in the group without people being in there because it's their private life. But it's probably one of the most constructive groups on Airsoft, in the Airsoft community I've ever seen. If Arabs here is the most toxic, they're the most detoxifying. You know.
Okay. Perhaps it might be worth getting them on the stream one day and talk about it. Because I think with mental health, I think it can be a little bit like grief, a little bit where certain people deal with it in different ways, maybe. So, you know, like you say, there's an airsoft group, a positive airsoft group out there that can help you with your mental sort of state of mind. Or Arabs is a different way where people have a bit of a rant and a bant, or they have a bit of poker fun at each other, and perhaps that's their own way of dealing with the shit that's going on at the moment.
Well, yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've got no criticism of the Man Down group, but it's very much it's at one end of the spectrum when I've had my own mental health issues, and yeah, great talking about it, getting it out in the open, realizing that you're not alone, being able to vent in an emotional manner and not be judged. One of the good things about it, they've got some qualified counsellors in there, but they're very careful not to professionally give people advice that isn't going to be sound. So it's a little bit like the Samaritans for Airsoft. But for me, like, having gone through that, I paid. God, stop swearing there. So I paid an awful lot of money to go through counselling. I went through EMDR therapy, and that was very structured. That was very invasive. Do you know what I mean? Like one session, I'll be giving it the bravado, I can hack it. And the next minute, I'd be like bawling to tears, and it was a very cathartic experience for me. Whereas I think Man Down is like that day-to-day thing where it can catch people on in their day-to-day struggles and make them feel like they're not alone. I don't have any criticisms of the group, but one of the things I struggle with talking about mental health these days is the conversation plateaus at symptoms and causality. And then they talk about the struggles that you have with treatment and getting help, etc. And they're not in a position to because they're not qualified to. But then a lot of things in mental health, it struggles to get it up to, okay, so how do we get to a period of management and recovery? And for that, it's a personal journey. You know, you either go into self-destruct mode, you either seek hobbies, interests, you change your lifestyle, you get counselling, or you go on a murder rampage and think, you know, screw it, I'm going to let you all know how I'm feeling. Yeah. And unfortunately, you know, without bringing the dark tone to it, some people will go as far as attempting or committing suicide. And it's at that stage where it's like, Christ, what can you do to actually help people, to help themselves, to get to the help that they need?
And I think, though, that Airsoft is quite a big escape for a lot of people. Like, it's one of those days where you can get out there, have some fun, shoot the shit at each other, have a bit of banter with people. And just like any hobby, I think it can be your vice and how you deal with things. And I think I've seen a direct correlation to what the type of attitude people coming into the shop. So, when we had the lockdown, or just before the second lockdown, and sites weren't able to open, and people had come in and they were picking stuff up and they were browsing. You'd see how they are, and it was like that usual response that people give you, where you ask how they are, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm all right," but they're probably just struggling with something. To where lockdown 2.0 ends, and some sites do open early, or some sites have been running games straight away as soon as it ends. And you see the same people come in the shop again. You're like, "You're right," and they're like, yeah, I'm buzzing. I've seen you've got such and such in stock. Have you got one here? Can I have a look? And you see it in their minds where they've been to an airsoft site, they've socialised with some people, they've had a game day, they've shot the crap out of each other, and then they're getting that vibe again. They're getting that sort of excitement. Yeah, well, like, oh, that new pistol, I've seen that. Someone showed me that on site. Have you got one in stock? Yeah, sweet. Can I buy one? And then they're conversing with you like, oh, yeah, I got to a game at the weekend and managed to jump up behind these guys, threw a grenade at them, that typical sort of excitement. So I think for a lot of people, it's definitely going to help. Obviously going into the Christmas period now, so a lot of sites will be closed anyway. I'm just hoping that if a lot of people that do airsoft as a hobby are struggling, that we can get back to some games pretty soon and get people ticking over again, and hopefully get some money back injected into UK stores. I mean, a lot of stores have been okay, but a lot of stores have struggled. And I think with Brexit literally just around the corner now, I don't know if any of you had seen like the posts going up from like the Polish shops or
Taiwan gun.
Yeah, suspending postage now till next year. They obviously don't know what's going to go on. They're obviously going to keep trading with the UK and other countries, of course. But is there going to be extra cost involved? Is there going to be extra import involved? I, for one, welcome it. I'm kind of glad that Brexit is putting making it a bit more difficult to people to get cheap stuff from Poland, because then they're perhaps getting stuff from not particularly from us. They could go to any shop, but they're going in the UK. They're supporting a UK local business. They're supporting jobs here in the UK as well, making people stay in a job. Yeah. And at the end of the day, if they have a problem, they can walk back into said shop and get it rectified straight away, rather than tongue and going, "Now, sod you deal with it yourself." Yeah. But I'm hoping that Brexit comes, it's more beneficial for the shops and such. The site's open again, and we can start getting some games in.
Ed Leo touched upon that in his previous stream. He was very much an advocate of buying local, buying regional, keeping it in the UK, and he wasn't doing it from a keep Britain stance. He was talking about you're spending money outside of the UK. And it's not helping the UK economy. Surely it helps the financial economy, because the trading appears, the finance change, the money's exchanged. But when you're actually talking about buying from airsoft, people talk about, say, I buy my meat from a local butcher, I get it from a local XYZ, I buy my vegetables from a local farmer, and this, that, and the other. And that kind of mentality is slowly coming down. You go to your local pub, you support your local football team. Very much so, a lot of people support their local airsoft site because they'll go where it's cheap to get to, because fuel's expensive, and airsoft isn't always affordable for everyone. But this principle of buying airsoft local, I think there's another aspect of that, though. I think people will still always buy from people, and not to keep dropping Arabs into this conversation, but one of the principles of Arabs when we first started talking to business owners was so actually business owners' personality could come across in the streams, and people could buy into, that old age rhetoric, which is people buy from people. So there's loads of people that will still buy from Dave. I think calling Dave like he's my best mate, Dave Taylor. People will now hopefully buy more from Combat. Not that they need us to help them. People will see me and you, Josh and James have got a working friendship. They'll see that I've got a connection to Backcountry Workshop, in the fact that I want to bring those people through. And I think that's what needs to be done now. Is I think I covered it with Ryan a little. When Matt Skunk was in the group before he did one and says you're all a bunch of all a bunch of somethings.
Close. That was close.
he turned around and says, you know what, maybe it's maybe things like this and other groups, you know, if Pew Pew, UK Airsoft Community, and they didn't have ASG's will there, if they were doing more of this and engaging with the shops, people would gravitate to a shop based on personality. I wonder what Frank from Fire Sports like, you know. I wonder maybe he's just sitting down there.
The thing is, though, you're not stuck in this constant price war with, you know, Taiwan Gun are buying stuff in from, let's say, Taiwanese importers, Chinese importers, Hong Kong importers, and they're selling direct to consumer. So it's almost like a wholesaler selling direct to consumer, but into pretty much every country around them. Mm-hmm. And we all know that running a business in Poland, your rates and everything like that is super cheap. So they have the ability to just slash their prices and they can survive, where UK shops obviously feel it. I mean, us personally, we don't sort of do the thing with Taiwan Gun, because there's no point slashing our prices and, you know, sort of putting a noose around our own neck. We go on the customer service as pretty much probably what Ed does as well. You know, he's very prominent with his walk-in retail store. So that's what you rely on. But I'm hoping that this sort of shows people that, you know, buy in the UK, support UK businesses, and eventually, you know, perhaps the prices do start getting competitive and this, that, and the other. You know, we're not competing with an outside source without competing with everybody inside.
Yeah, just have to add something to that though. Like, I mean, when I buy from a shop, it's not the initial transaction that keeps me at that store. Every airsoft gun that I bought and every airsoft tech I've ever had, something has been wrong with it. You know what I mean? Except for one, which was the stuff I had to do from Eagle 6 that ran beautifully for the 2 years after I've had the gun, and then it's got the slow dip off. But I don't measure shops by the initial transaction. It's very easy for me to be excited to spend £500 on a gun, and then that shopkeeper will be really happy that I've spent money on a gun. What really ties it up for me is that when things go kaput, and I go back to them, and they turn around and go, "Yeah, it's the gun's fault. It's covered under a warranty," or they turn around and say, "It's bad. You've had it for 12 months or 6 months. It's likely to happen." And some, you know, without naming the names, I've had texts where it's not been done right, and have been just as happy to correct their own stuff as they were to take the money off me.
Yeah.
You know, but then there's the attitude thing. I think I've always gone to people with the right attitude. I'd like to think, James, you were one of the very first people I came to sort out my shit guns, and which is what you did. There's the only chance you can make my G&G Predator shoot 200 meters at 500 rounds per second for a nominal amount of 50 quid. He went, "No, Anne, but what I can do is get it working." Thanks, James. And then it got to
I can make it more productive than throwing BBs at people.
Yeah.
To start.
I don't know if I was living in Devon at the time. I was still coming up to drive up to you from Devon to collect my bits and bobs and bringing it back
my
down.
very small shop that had no stock in it, and it was literally in its infancy. To be honest, you were probably one of my first probably fully supportive customers.
Really? Oh yeah, I used to bang
probably, yeah. Probably.
Yeah.
Who knows? Because it was my memory ain't what it used to be. But back in that old shop that you saw, you know, above my brother's car place, it was very small. I probably didn't even have as many guns on the wall as what I've got behind me, or I didn't have much variance. It was, you know, but then I relied on my, you know, sort of technical work, the experience and such like that. But, you know, it's obviously paid off to some degree because, you know, I'm where I am today. So you should probably come and join us in the Slough showroom at some point. It's small, but it's packed to the brim. So there's a lot of stuff in there.
There's going to be some times when you guys are talking and I'm going to look at this vacant stare, and what it is with iOS on the streaming platform here, it's saying that there's interference. So you guys amazing.
I want James Parker. I want a Rare Arms M4. I think we've got Rare Arms M4s in at the moment, but they are expensive. Shelljet and M4s. Here's Mark again. Mark was another one like yourself who came and supported in the early days. Much like yourself, walked in, wanted some advice, and you know hopefully he keeps coming back. But yes, the walls were very green, Mark. They were very Lamborghini. I used to call it. It was horrendous. It wasn't my choice, but so yeah, I think you know the custom should come back to the UK. The more that people support UK shops, the more UK shops have the ability to go right. We're doing all right now because we've got the custom back from the Polish, and We've got a bit of money saved up. Let's start doing some random deals. Let's start slashing a bit of prices in, a sale or something like that. Let's do some offers, because now that the customers coming to us in the UK, we're not so like in this massive price war with the Polish that we can kind of offer that. So I'm all for it. Being from Britain, we're very patriotic, aren't we? No. I thought you coming from Birmingham would have said yes.
No, mate, I'm part of the Jamaican airsoft team. Fieldy River,
Feel the rhyme. Come on, team, it's airsoft time.
Yeah, come on, team. I literally will be like, I'll be moving to Jamaica soon, setting up airsoft in Jamaica. So I'm not even going to start pretending I'm Jamaican. I'm only a quarter Jamaican, but I feel like I default to Jamaican, and I'll be taking it over to there.
Yeah. So, but Beans, and he didn't want me to do this, but Beans, we've now got Josh on, and he's lasted more than 10 minutes. Perhaps we should find out more about you, Josh.
Oh, my signal's going. Hey, I don't know.
Signal's going. We're being serious then. You just start getting static on the screen.
From Cornwall. TV transmissions, and they said we're losing satellite signal from here to Cornwall. Will we? Some technical difficulties.
But, I mean, people in the Arab group obviously know you, Josh, but those that perhaps chime into the Bespoke YouTube channel may not know who you are. So, do you want to just go through who you are, where you're from,
okay,
ASL, all that good stuff?
ASL.
From the old MSN Messenger days. You remember ASL?
Oh,
am I showing my age there, or was that more of a common thing?
If you want to do ASL now, it would be, don't be age discriminative. You can call me they or them, and location will be don't stalk me. Well, you know what I mean?
Go on, Josh.
Okay, basically, to those who don't know me, my name's Josh. I'm the owner of Cornwall's Elite Airsoft in Cornwall, and also Airsmiths, which is basically a retail shop, very much like James. We focus on HPA, AG upgrades, and that sort of things, but also we do retail as well. Been in the game now for, I always think it's only been a couple of years, but then when I actually work out, it's been starting to get on a bit now. So I think I've been there for about 3-4 years, been in the game. Got into the more business side of things a couple of years ago, and then recently, must have been just a few months before lockdown 1.0, we opened up Airsmiths, which was perfect timing for everybody to get into retail. But and we're very much similar to James. We have our own little community down here. Met Andy through, I think me and Andy actually met prior to you coming down to see it. I think we spoke before when you were part of the territory.
Oh,
was
yeah.
it territory? Yeah, it must have been.
The territory. The airsoft site that never was.
Yeah, I think that's when I actually first started speaking to Andy, and James, I was one of your customers. I think that's where I think first one I bought from you is one of the Tekken 45 recoils.
You were one of my customers?
Yeah, I bought it from you.
Wow.
And it's back when you first got the KWAs, because you're the only person in the country who had them. And I fell in love with that the second I saw them, and slowly starting to become more and more converted to the KWA series. It's quite impressive how they line up next to Tokyo Marine now in regards to reach.
I mean, there's Tekken 45. Love it. Yeah. KWA QRF. I've just picked up as well. You probably don't see it on the wall. Where is it? Down there. The Mod 3. Just picked up the Mod 3 as well, which has got the MP9 style mags. I absolutely love KWA. They do take a little bit of work, but, in terms of quality and stuff. And, of course, my MTW, which I need to get up and running before I come down and see you guys.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a comment here from the Facebook user. You have to forgive me because I can't see. You might be able to help me out, Andy, if you're watching the Facebook stream, on who said these comments. But I've tried buying from UK stock, but terrible. UK stock is terrible. Bespoke, not about that. I mean, most shops should have a lot in stock. We have a lot in stock, but it's always one of those things where you get judged on the item that's not in.
Yeah, it's the thing you don't have in stock and that you don't carry.
So we have, a lot of stock in, and I mean a lot of stock. But it's always that one item's looking for. And it's one of the reasons why we started disabling a lot of out-of-stock SKUs on the site, so they didn't show. So if it was out of stock, it wouldn't show, and then when it's back in stock, it'd show again, which kind of sort of reduced the issue. But hi, Mark. Mark's customer bespoke as well. Nice to see you, mate. Any news on the Ares MSR 303? It's a lovely rifle. I've recorded a video which will be going up on the YouTube channel soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that one. Enjoy listening, guys. Keep up the good work.
That's Jeff Wiseman, which I think he's from. I think he's Phoenix Airsoft. I might not be right. Might be wrong.
Phoenix Airsoft. Whereabouts are they?
Phoenix Airsoft is on Kicking Mustang's last video, where he goes as far as to say it's one of the best sites that he's ever played at.
Whereabouts in the UK?
I believe, might be wrong. I think it's in Derbyshire area, and it was described as a good old fashioned. Oh, it was described on Arab's page as a good old fashioned traditional airsoft site up in the northwest that doesn't take falls gladly, and you're just as likely to get your mouth punched off as you would be shot in the face, something like that. It's like a working man's airsoft club, you know. Like, do you know what I mean? If let's say,
Phoenix, this is Phoenix. Is a working man's club airsoft.
Yeah, it's like a working man's airsoft club. Like, you know, I got shot in the testicles the other day. It's fucking brilliant, you know, something like.
What was his name again, Andy?
Jeff Wiseman.
Jeff, if you want to post your site's details in the comments below, we'll give you a free plug. Not that it goes out to many people, but we'd like to know about more good sites.
Jeff did a freebie in Arabs, actually, because like Jeff's site made it into Arabs about some bullshit, like it was to do with people on Arabs calling the site out for trying to open or something.
I remember these guys.
Yeah, and he basically he called us all out for whatever reason, and then ended up giving 4 free games away for some particular reason. He didn't have to do it apologetically. So the guy's a really good guy, you know.
There you go. That's what I'm happy. You know, if he's good to you, then I'm all happy. If you want to put your details in there, so we can let everybody know where your site is. Got a Rapax Simsbury Fields, James. One of the few shops I'll keep about. Thank you very much. Of course, low with nods. Nods look there, like they're made out of cardboard tubes. Hello. KWA favourite gun out of the box. You have to tell me whose comments I'm reading here if you can.
Okay, I'll go on. Let's have a look.
Interesting to see if he joins you. I need a KWA ERG working on. Well, there's 2 people in this stream that can help you with that. Just get in touch. Although I don't know about you, Josh, but we've stopped accepting any kind of non-warranty working at the moment because we are just like overrun.
Do you know,
absolutely
we
overrun.
recently just cleared through a load of stuff. We had a hell of a backlog, which thankfully that lockdown kind of gave us, the second lockdown gave us some time to kind of blitz through that. So at the moment, we're actually taking on work, but sod's law, I'll say that, and then next week I'm like, no, we've got too many.
Yeah.
It's one of those, isn't it? As you know,
yeah,
James,
I myself am completely overrun with tech work, probably because I don't do tech work, and
is this your own? Is this just your own broken guns?
yeah. I don't have broken guns as yet.
Is that because you got rid of the G&G?
So, you just sell them and buys a fixed one.
Because you got rid of the G&G.
Oh, do you know what? I that was the I'm going to keep putting whatever it was. I can't even remember the technical term. But I kept putting 11.1 with a decent gearbox, and then just shredding the piston all the time. So like I'd be like, oh, I listen to this. Why is it broke?
So you can do that with an MTW now. You just don't have the gearbox noise. Then it's just like bah.
Yeah, nothing breaks.
Nickname my MTW the Burt Kreischer.
The Burt what?
The Burt Kreischer.
What's Burt Kreischer?
You know who Burt Kreischer is? The Machine.
No.
The comedian that goes on about his trip to Russia. He's like, I'm the Machine. No? Mate, get on Netflix. Get on Netflix. Search Burt Kreischer and watch all his stand-ups. He's amazing. But because his name's Burt, nickname the MTW Burt Kreischer.
Got D. Philip Reeve, no snowflakes at Phoenix, and Jeff has confirmed that Phoenix is based in Mansfield, which is this like little gooch in between Derby and Nottingham.
Okay, sweet. Well, I think there's something we wanted to talk about, like, you know, that around that topic with, you know, snowflakes and sites and how sites cater to people, which we'll probably touch on later when if James does join us. But if he doesn't, we'll talk about it anyway. Hi, I have my KMCS now, 7 days delivery to Italy, and support is okay. Love Kicking, best out there. Some people love him, some people hate him. That's what we're trying to. That's why the the stream is sort of labelled as the real Kicking Mustang, because we hope we're going to meet the real Kicking Mustang. Phoenix is border of Sherwood Forest.
Okay.
And
Robin,
then you've got
the hooded man.
and then you've got Rico on here. Robbed the train. Yeah, he did. Bert Kreischer robbed the train with the Russian mafia.
Yeah.
Andy, write it down now. You got a Netflix Bert Kreischer. He'll have you in stitches.
Just send you via text, like you know.
We'll link you later.
I'll watch
I think his latest one's called "Hey Big Boy" or something like that.
Ooh, okay.
The way that he talks about his kids as well, and that his kids are just complete morons. Oh, it's brilliant.
Kids are mostly morons anyway. Yeah.
Oh no, Bert Kreischer's kids are like uber special.
Really?
Like, yeah, he tells you some of the stories.
Speed stuff special.
Yeah, speed stuff. Worse than that, like some of the stuff you're like, nah, he's made that up, but he claims it's real. So, but yeah, I mean, where do we get to now? We've just gone off on a complete tangent.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do. It's meant to be unscripted, isn't it? I mean, it's not like Dave's Customs Airsoft on Arabs, where we're going to be reading off a cue card or something. Just like to accept this award on behalf of everyone that's ever supported me.
The cat and the hat.
Billy has 3 apples.
What is it? The brown fox jumps over the such and such. The old font default setting. The brown fox jumps.
The gender neutral fox jumps over.
But yeah, we're hoping, for those that haven't realised already, we're hoping James obviously joins us. We called him out on the last stream, which was probably like, what, two weeks ago? Just over 2 weeks ago?
2-3 weeks.
And we said, I said 18th, and he was like, yeah, let's do it. But he is travelling. So he's travelling up to the Midlands, not far from where I am. So I think he's got to...
He's on your doorstep. Is he going to West Midlands Airsoft by any chance?
He's going to Anzo, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh God, he's going to clear up after the heresy crew have been in there. You know what I mean?
Have you ever been to Anzo?
Nah.
No, want to though.
No. It's a good site. It's a good site.
There's a pause there. Like I wasn't too sure if you're going to go, oh, it's brilliant, or
No.
it's just as bad as what some people were
The
saying.
site. I haven't been there for a while now. The site's brilliant. Just it's so questionable the way that it's ran.
Okay.
Just like people like proper power tripped, proper ordering people about getting in people's face. I've heard of like dads like throwing punches at the organizer, whatever his name is,
Really?
for doing something to his son. And oh god, yeah. Someone's just said here on the old comments, Anzo, good site, poorly ran. Yeah, I've been to Anzo like many times years ago, and it was a great site, and I never had any issues. But you start seeing the same shit like pop up over and over again. You had the stuff with the heresy group kick off. I had some people in the shop that were telling me about some stuff that went on at Anzo as well, and it was just like, Jesus Christ! Like it was like to do with the chronoing and stuff, and it was just unreal. Like if the experiences that these people had happened to me, I don't think I could keep my cool with someone that spoke to me in that way, like the way that they like sort of degrade you and speak down to you. But
well, the thing is, there's nothing that a can of petrol and a set of matches and an alibi can't sort out. You know,
Alibi.
that went from 0 to 100 really quickly.
It's like. In fact, they've got a capital
Newsflash: ex-MOD site burns down.
Yeah, it wasn't me.
Whatever was left to burn.
Couldn't possibly be me. You know what I mean? I'm in tier 2. Didn't go to tier 3 not to do that. No.
He'll be on the phone in a second. Yeah, guys, light the fucking matches.
What? Wait a second. You've done Frontier instead? No, it's the one further up. Oh, bloody No, not that one. That's Storm Force. It's the one North Staffordshire.
Okay, let's say that you go to a site. Let's. I mean, it doesn't have to be Anzo. Let's say you go to a site and you experience something like that. That that you've been spoke to in a certain way, or something's just not quite ran as, and someone gets in your face like all power hungry, like they fucking own you or something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you respond to that? Because I think I'd respond to that.
how I did was embarrassing on my part because I flipped my lid a number of times, and I've retrospectively looked at it and gone, you flipped your lid over someone who is just a discrepant, irrelevant human being, and when they die, their bodily organs will be given to somebody more worthy of them. But in the moment of it, you kind of like, you think, why are you talking to me like a piece of crap when I'm a customer? Why are you talking to me like a piece of crap like you're some form of authority? I think the worst place for me, one of the best ever game sites, but one of the worst customer experiences was at Black Ops in Bristol. And they've got this little tiny discrepant, like mongoloid man who makes Gollum look like a supermodel. And then he has these like cringeworthy rants. And then it's got to the point sometimes where during the safety brief, the staff are arguing with each other. And like, just remember who you're talking to. And it's like this really cringeworthy stand-up comedy show of a safety brief.
This friend of mine said that he'd obviously been there. He said the safety brief was an hour long.
Oh, fuck.
Anzo.
Yeah.
He said the safety brief had gone on for like an hour. He said that the safety brief had gone on that long that people obviously start talking to themselves because they get agitated. And every time people start talking, the guy doing the safety brief would go, "Shut up!" Something like that. And then he'd wait like a good 10 seconds for it to go deathly quiet. And then he'd carry on. And he said it was just like, and he went to the chrono. I think he was using like a 417 recoil. So he goes to the chrono. He shoots. This is a gun that I've worked on for him, so we know it's good. He shot 349, 349, 349. He said I shot like 7 times, and it was 349. And then they questioned him on where his hop was set. So he said, "Well, I'm not going to change where the hop's set because that hop where it's set is set to 2.8s, going nice and flat, you know, for as long as the trajectory. No, you got to turn your hop off and you got to run 0.2s. So they make him turn his hop off. He then puts they obviously put some fresh 0.2s in his magazine. They shoot it through the chrono and it does 350.8 or something. It was like 0.8 FPS over. And to that point, they're like, "No, you can't use it." I mean, they've got a sight limit of 350. But you can't use it's 0.8 over. It's fucking pathetic, isn't it, really? Yeah, to which she's like, "I don't use the gun like that. You know, I use the gun set to 2.8s because I use 2.8 gram BB." So he puts the gun away. I think there was a thing where he got told it was okay and then he got told it wasn't okay. You know, people always seem to say when they go to Anzo, the most confusing thing about the site is the chrono and how they run it. To which then he hires a gun. So he hires this piece of shit G36. And he's got this gun and he's like, "Well, okay, I'll use this for the day. Can I hire an extra magazine? Because he's got a 300 round high cap. Can I hire an extra mag?" And he's like, "Why do you need an extra mag?" He's like, "Because, you know, one mag, 300 rounds, not." And this guy, the guy that's running the site, he's like, "Well, that's just stupid. How many magazines do you run?" And he's like, "I've got like 6 mags." He's like, "Well, how many rounds in each mag?" 82 rounds being a TM recoil or whatever it is. And then he starts grilling this guy about his mag choices and how many rounds he carries on him at a game of airsoft. I'd be like, why is it any of your business how many mags I keep? If I'm well within the rules, I can carry whatever I like. So then he's kicking off with his customer going off and he can't rent an extra mag. Now, if you was a site, you'd be like, "Yeah, give us £7. Here's an extra mag. Just bring it back at the end of the day. Earn a bit of extra money and you keep your customers happy." And it's just like the stories that I hear, and he went into much greater detail than what I've just told you. It was just like, you're just being a dick for the sake of being a dick. And he's like, he said like he kept his cool the whole time. And he was very, you know, courteous and polite to these guys. Because he said, "I didn't want to get banned. You know, my team go there all the time. I don't want to get a ban for something stupid." And it's like, this guy is scared of getting a ban, yet he's not taking the piss.
There's a few things I covered there. I think we covered it in an Arab stream once, and then somebody nailed it down in about 30 seconds. I turned around and said, in airsoft, there's a lot of people on a power trip, you know, and then you put in the idea of we're using realistic imitation firearms in a military simulation combat scenario, which may lead to harm, injury, or fatality. No, so you get people that are actually like proper G'd up about what their airsoft business is like. And the different analogy or the comparison I would use it to, it's like you go to a pub or a club or a rave, and the thing is, it's like the lineup could be amazing. You could have watched pictures or photos or see the DJ lineup, but you still won't go to that rave or to that bar because the bouncer's a knob. Or you might go to a pub and the beer's amazing, the atmosphere is amazing, the staff are great, but the food's crap, and that'll be enough for you to not to go. And that's what airsoft sites, I think more so airsoft sites than shops, don't realise is actually you can have all of the big things that you need: a great site, great features, great gameplay, great marshals. But if the site owner's a dick, then no, people won't go. No, of course they won't notice that, because if weekend in, weekend out, you're churning 30, 40, 50, 60 players, 150, 200 players, then you're quite happy because you've got your income of, I don't know, 1,000, £2,000 a week, take out the tax, rent and all the other bits, and you as an individual, you're pulling in £600-700 a week running an airsoft site after you've paid all your bills. No one's going to question your authority. Do you know what I mean? But when you actually think to yourself, do you know what? If I look after people, here's a prime example. Look at Tony from Rift Airsoft. Guy's got sites all over the place. When he does a safety briefing, he's brilliant. When you talk to him, his energy's up there. Do you know what I mean? When you look at his site rules, they're really common sense. When you look at how he manages the gameplay when things aren't going right, he doesn't chastise the players. He really, really hones in on the things that are causing problems, and he gives the players, a professional shit sandwich. Now, you look at him and he's a successful businessman. He's got 3 sites, probably go and get more. You look at Anzo and people are debating whether to go to one. So you look at it and go, okay, there's a bit of a modus operandi here, which is you can keep your site for 20 years and you'll never really get the same players keep coming back. Each and every year, you'll get a new cycle of people that don't know really how bad you are. Or you can run a site so well with such a great attitude that you end up taking another site on, another site on, another site on. And that is completely comparable when you look at Black Ops, which they've never really grown much past where they are. You look at Anzo and you look at Rift, say, and it's like, well, there's no comparison. You know,
I don't want people to think that I'm bashing Anzo, but you've got to think to yourself, there's so much stuff that people that come out of that site think and give you the horrific stories of just absolute nonsense that you're like, is airsoft still in that much of a niche that we kind of put up with it because if you're in that local area, there's not many other sites around, so you kind of have to deal with it. Like if you went to a supermarket, say went into Tesco, and someone spoke to you like you was an absolute invalid, you go, screw you, where's your manager? They'll probably lose their job, or you go and shop at Asda instead, you know what I mean?
But Anzo is in the league, is it not?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
So in
Stone, I think. Stone?
Yeah, so in Staffordshire, you would have West Midlands Airsoft FOB, you would have Op Tactical, which is Rob Blakemore, and obviously Rob's had his fair share of crap on the social media. You've got Storm Force, you'd have Frontier. So in actual fact, in that little, and then obviously if you want to go coming down towards Cannock, you've got what's that site in Cannock that people sometimes play at? Is it Ace?
Storm. No, it's not in Cannock. In Cannock, in the surrounding area, you've got Storm Force, which is in Rugeley.
Yeah, it's still staff, so you can get to it quite easily enough.
You've got Frontier, Fireball Squadron, MPF. I mean, Cannock's quite saturated for airsoft sites. You've got at least 4 or 5 locally.
Yeah.
So if one is crap, you could just go, right, let's go to the other place instead.
I think you've got Staffordshire almost like, I said this a couple of weeks ago, it's almost like Staffordshire and maybe going over towards Shropshire is giving Kent and Essex a run for the money in terms of Gucci airsoft sites.
I think because it's so central in the UK, it's kind of like on the... Cannock's one of those weird places where you're on the route to everywhere. So whether you go north, south, east, or west, everyone kind of comes through or past it. So that might be why it's a bit of a hot spot.
Shit, isn't it? It's where everybody has to go through to get to.
Yeah, kind of.
M6, Junction 10, Junction 11. You could almost understand why the IRA wanted to bomb that junction about 15 years ago. They left a improvised explosive device at the bottom of the junction. And you could hear everybody in the Midlands around saying at least one time, we're glad the IRA are doing that. So blow up that junction, it's just crap, you know.
But you know, I'm not just to reiterate, I'm not trying to put people off going to that site, because I always think that no matter how much shit talking you hear about a site, unless it's something that's absolutely horrific, go and experience it for yourself. Don't let anyone tell you any different. Go make your own mind up.
Yeah, I've gone back to the sites I thought were horrific. I thought Black Ops was horrific, and I still went back.
Yeah.
Because I tell you what, sometimes the site is actually more worth than the twat that's running it. You know, like, and sometimes that tool takes a back seat, and he's there for I think the power here is, as I've grown up, I've learned to ignore my instincts to want to take someone's head off, and then realise I'm actually there to play with a toy gun. So I take my ego back a couple of levels and go, just get through the brief. Just do the normal thing you do at Airsoft, which is take your hits, don't be a dick, and try not to badmouth anybody that's not taking them. And I'll have a great sight. But if I go into an Airsoft site, it's like walking to a pub that you've never been into and then calling all the locals the word I'm not supposed to say on YouTube. And then
seeing
you
excuses
there and saying, "Hello, Mr. Barman. Listen, I think your beer's crap." You don't. I talked about this with the guy that we're trying to get on here. I said, do you not see that Airsoft sites? It's not. I'm not going to go ball straight into it. But Tara says, "I know headshots are okay, but can you see that it's not okay for every site?" And I said, and I like that's the analogy I use. I said, it's like a pub. Some pubs you're going there to get drunk. Some pubs you're going in there to watch the football. Some pubs you're going in there to eat. Some pubs you're going in there for a fight. No, in principle, all pubs serve alcohol, but one set of behaviour is not acceptable in the other. So if you're in a gastro pub where the burger's 20 quid and your pints are £5, you're not really going to go in there if you're looking to get smashed straight away. You go to Wetherspoons or you go to a Marston's for that. So in principle, the same thing is going to an Airsoft site and expecting it to be Rift standards, or going to an Airsoft site expecting it to be Sterling standards. It's a tall expectation. I think you have to go there, keep your mouth shut, and do what's quintessentially British, which is don't moan and then come onto forums and moan about it.
Yeah,
you know, that is the healthy way. That's what everybody likes.
I think, especially nowadays, with the amount of people that wear cameras. Like, if we talked about, like the heresy group situation, I ain't taking sides there. To be honest, I think both the guys at the site and heresy group, I think they were both being wankers. If I'm honest, not that they are in general, but the whole situation to me was just like, why are you even arguing? But that video popped up. He's got a camera on. He shoots that guy in the corner. The guy doesn't take the hit. And then the guy that he's shot and not took the hit pulls out a marshal's vest and just like does one. He's like, I'm going to dust myself out of here. You've got to be expected of the site owner. You've got to say to your marshals, look, anybody and everybody on this site could be wearing a camera. You need to have a certain, or does this come back to the ATB? Does a standard get set for Airsoft sites? I think that's kind of like a difficult thing to do.
Does a standard get set for pubs? The only thing that gets set for standard in pubs is the beer. Do you know what I mean? Like,
but with a pub, though, everybody is set the same standards. You don't serve alcohol to under 18s or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you walk in there and assault somebody, you're going to get in trouble. But you're defined by rules of the normal.
You came out before we came onto the stream. You came out with an amazing idea, and I talked about this with ATB. I got laughed at, and then I talked about this with the guy who want to get on there about certain things, and we've talked about it. And you James, you nailed it on the head. It's like, imagine if there was a game there where it was for only 25 years and above, and it was classed as a hardcore game, which is you get shot up until the point where your red rag comes out. You know what I mean? Or you get shot to the point where you're lying on the floor. It's not one hit. Some people turn around and say, "Oh, I'd love to play Airsoft with simunition or to have increased FPS and joules." There is a load of people out there that want to play. And I use this analogy because I remember on one of keep referring to it because we wanted to get it on here. But if he was talking to some guy, Kicking Mustang was talking to some guy about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and this American guy went on this boring rant about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I hate people who do Jiu-Jitsu. It's boring to watch. It's like Khabib, fucking goat guy. It's like, oh, so
isn't Jiu-Jitsu what they use in the UFC mostly?
Yeah, one of the things that they use, but it's boring. It's just so crap to watch. It's so homoerotic. You know what I mean? If somebody actually slid down the trunks and started shafting the bloody other fighter, it wouldn't be surprising that that's in a move. So the point being is that they were talking about it like from a mixed martial arts point of view. And I went, actually, Airsoft could have that same aspect, which is in MMA, there's lots of things which are allowed, which aren't allowed in boxing. In boxing, there's loads of things which aren't allowed in Strike 1. In Strike 1, there's loads of things which aren't allowed in full contact karate. So, and they're all martial arts. So there is a different degree of martial arts. Now let's replace martial arts with Airsoft. Surely there's got to be different, not just different styles like Milsim, Speedsoft and all that. There's got to be different styles of severity. And if you look at BKB now, bare knuckle boxing, it makes MMA looked like wrestling, so that you take that same mindset about martial arts and you apply it to airsoft. Not that they're comparable, we're not doing the thing from Equilibrium where you've got a gun cutter and like.
I honestly think that if I was to run a site, let's say I get a site, I've got
an airsoft site.
yeah, let's say I get some land, I build an airsoft site. I would, and I've seen people do this, and I've seen people change the rules of like setting it to 18 or 16 and over. Minimum, I would be 18 or over. Now, that's not against anything. Or, okay, let's say you run an 18 and over site, and you could have days where you get younger players on and you promote younger players in the hobby. So if dads want to come along with their kids, I'm all for that. I don't think I'd run it solely as, 21 and over, but I think I'd categorize the events very, very quickly. Like, let's say, okay, next Saturday is our normal walk-on day. Everyone's allowed. Kids, if you want to come with your parents, this, that, and the other, have a good fun. These are the rules. This is the aim of the game. We've told you the rules. We've told you the ins and outs of the game. I don't want to hear any moaning. So you should have full face protection on, blah, blah, blah. And then alternatively, this following Sunday is our Milsim Extreme or whatever you want to call it. I don't know. You give it a funky name. This event is a 21 and over only event.
Mm-hmm.
And if you come onto the site and you get shot in the face and you moan, you will be asked to leave.
Yeah.
Because this isn't, so many people, I mean, you see it all the time. And this is probably one of the main things that I do discuss with, I have discussed things with James over Facebook. And I don't get it, because if you go into a site that, let's say you go into a site that just allows sniper rifles, for instance, I'm going to have a mesh face mask on. I'm not getting clipped with a 500 FPS bolt action from 30 meters away and losing a tooth. I don't want that sort of rigmarole, do you? So I just put a mesh face mask on. And he has, I know we're going to talk about this if he comes on the stream, but he has shot people in the face that haven't got the mesh face mask on, but they've got it around the neck. Who are you moaning at, really? If I was a marshal on that site and they come claiming, oh, Marshal, he shot me in the face. Shut up, you mug. Get back in the game. You're here to play airsoft. It's a contact hobby. You know what I mean? You're shooting solid plastic projectiles at each other.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're not here to play Nerf.
But it's not. I don't think. See, that's the thing. People are looking at it from a. We've got some angry faces about this, so on Arabs. But people look at it as if it's a preventative measure. And we should gauge what airsoft sites are doing as a preventative measure. So, like, I see some airsoft players that have been playing since the late 90s, and I talk to them and go, it's a lot different then. It was a bit of fun. You got hit, you put your hand up and you'd walk off. And I'm saying, yeah, but in the late 90s, look at what's unfiltered violence now. Kids can play Call of Duty and they're encouraged to do headshots. How can you have a game which is pretty much, I'd say Call of Duty helps feed the airsoft world.
We touched on this on the last stream, didn't we?
Yeah,
you're being indoctrinated to think that is a normal thing. Like, you see these games, you hit a headshot, you score the most points, or you knock an enemy down faster than if you hit them in the body. We're constantly being trained to think that is the most efficient way to shoot someone.
Yeah.
Aren't we really? So I think I've said it many times, and I'll say it again. You go into an airsoft field, someone's going to shoot you with a plastic projectile that could be traveling up to 500 feet per second. It's your responsibility to protect every inch of your person. And you could get struck on every inch of your person. It'd be like going out into a game without no glasses on, getting shot in the eye and go, oh, he shot me in the eye. Well, why haven't you got glasses on? Most sites recommend you wear a full face anyway, don't they? But I know people are probably going to get bent out of shape, but that's just my opinion.
But I think Josh should get some impact on this as well, because he runs a site, and Cornwall Elite Airsoft also had a reputation of being quite a hardcore game to play, and CEA is quite unforgiving because it's not an abundance of cover and fake structures where you can hide behind what have you. But for me, I don't see it as a preventative measure. I see it as a promoting measure. We referred to this before we got onto it about that event, or what is it? Not an event. The thing that you could do in Las Vegas where you're using simunition, and when you run out of ammo, you can kick the crap out of each other.
Yeah.
Simunition is like 350 FPS at 2.2, 2.4 joules. And once you finish clattering your mate with your Glock, you've got all of these pads on. You can start kicking the crap out of each other. Now, that might seem really, really bizarre to some people, but if you do kickboxing or MMA or contact sport, You're used to taking the hits. So it's a novelty to you to be able to go, I can shoot you with this gun and have a spar with you. So that's the one end of it. And that's encouraged. The bottom end of it is Nerf, or gel blasters. And so rather than it seeing it as a preventative thing, they're going, well, you need to advertise your site and let people know how extreme it is. No, promote how extreme it is. I mean, if you
I think we said earlier, if there was a site out there and you've got, let's say you got 4 sites local to you and one site says we are literally adult only, we don't want people turning up and moaning about this, that, and the other. I'd be going to that site every single time.
Done though, hasn't it? Direct if there's a guy on here called I can't remember his surname. His name's Dave. He's ex-forces old boy, and they did this thing with direct action airsoft, and it was airsoft for adults. You've got blokes in their late 30s to early 50s.
I'm not saying you need to know Krav Maga.
They're having a laugh about it.
I'm not saying you need to know Krav Maga to go and play at a site like that, but I just a bit more of like, guys, we're freaking adults shooting in each of their toy guns in a woodland environment. But I'm just gonna take a quick question. So Aj Kula, I'm sorry if I mispronounced, said, are you guys okay with 16-year-olds play? Yeah, I'm down for any age to play if you're capable. Obviously, there's a certain age.
Are you okay with playing with 16-year-olds? No, mate, I'm not. I'm really not.
You're funny fucker. But I'm not saying that you should stop people going under a certain age, because I have seen sites that have been 18 only, and then 16 only, and then 14 and above. So they obviously want to get the numbers up. But I would think that I'd get more numbers at a site for grown adults to come and have some grown adult fun and not be bitching at each other for being shot in the face. But you said you got some angry faces, on my opinion. I don't see any.
It was on Arabs, but I don't know who it was. So, I mean, I take no notice of people's anger. You know what I mean?
Well, if they've got a different opinion, honestly, if they've got a different opinion, I'd love to hear it. But what's your take, Josh? What do you think? Get shot in the face?
I think it is one of those. At the end of the day, you sign a waiver, and if headshots are allowed, then you've got to be prepared that you might be shot in the face and protect yourself accordingly. And I do quite like the idea, stemming back to obviously like the martial arts. When you go to a martial arts club, everybody's done it when they're a kid. One of the main things you went into is, depending on how old you were, depend on what kind of group you were in the martial arts class. If you get what I mean, when you were over 18, you did the more hands-on sparring. You didn't have to wear all the face gear and protective gear. And I think you could definitely implement something like that to an airsoft site. And it's very much, if people do complain about getting shot in the face a lot, we say, look, we ask people not to take the headshot, but if that's the only thing that you stick your noggin out, make sure you're protected so don't hurt when you do get shot in the face.
I think he has said as well sometimes that he shoots people, and if he has hit them in the face, he moves his crosshair to make it look like he has, even though he's aimed at the body.
Yeah, I remember.
So he's pushing content out there that he thinks people want to see, and people obviously want to see. Otherwise, he wouldn't have 500,000 subscribers or whatever he's got. But
people do. People love it. It's the same thing even with games consoles. People like headshot compilations. It's just one of those.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing.
Well, when I used to get my headshot, I used to get really frustrated, and then I realised I was getting frustrated about something that was perfectly legit. And so now, when I go to an airsoft game for the last few years, if I get hit, I retrospectively think, well, where did I get hit? If I got hit in my arm or I got hit in my leg, I don't feel so bad. But if I get hit in the head, I don't moan about the shooter. I just think, you idiot, you had your head above. You've got your head in there. So there's another aspect of airsoft players.
Your own errors.
And I think some airsoft players get a bit too hit hungry. They think that the game is all about shooting someone else. When in actual fact, the game is about not getting hit and getting the objective done. So maybe if you concentrate on not getting hit.
I think there's definitely like a bit of I'm not sure if it's the right term. Would it be would it be an endorphin that's released when you shoot someone and it makes you happy? Is it endorphins?
Sadomasochism.
So like if you've got the drop on, let's say you jump out and a bunch of guys and there's 3 guys there and you've gone bat 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 with a pistol and you've shot them and you've had that. You buzz, don't you? You're like, sick. That was that was good. But, so I think there's definitely a buzz that you get off shooting people. Otherwise, we wouldn't do it. And let's face it, we've all shot someone where we've looked at them with a rifle or whatever. We've pulled the trigger and it's accidentally clipped them in the balls, and they're like going, "Oh, my balls!" And you're just there going,
What other hobby can you just sit down there and unload over a group of people and enjoy yourself? Oh yeah, of course, yeah, swinging. But yeah, so
I think Aj Cully, if you're listening, you're misinterpreting what we're saying. We're not saying that anyone under the 16 should play. We're just saying, should there be a site where you could go as a walk-on day at any age, but then run something that's slightly higher spec, just so that people could be more aggressive with each other? Because let's face it, you can't be aggressive with anyone under a certain age because you know, let's say you pushed over a minor, you'd find yourself in hot water, wouldn't you? Where if you pushed over, if it's two adults, two 20-year-olds, and you're having a bit of a bat and you bump into each other, knock each other over, you probably pick each other up and go, "Sorry, dude, didn't mean to do that." Yeah. Where if you knock a kid over, or if you accidentally, you know, cause a bit of harm to a child, it's a completely different matter. And that's what we're saying. We're not saying anyone under 16 should be stopped from doing this certain event. We're just saying that if you wanted to take it to the next level, people may have to be a certain age to be able to consent for that type of activity.
Even on a legal standpoint, sometimes, yeah, you do have to be over 18 to be able to agree with that. And I'll tell you what's a really good example of actually this being implemented or something similar is Josh Matthews down at Tier 1 CQB, which is a place called Troy in Cornwall. Indoor CQB, really, really close quarters, absolutely brilliant fun down there. But they have different days for different levels, so to speak. So, for example, Tuesdays are nicknamed Team Tuesdays. So on Tuesdays, first thing everybody says is, like, if you're going there, ear pro, full face pro, bear in mind you're playing against not necessarily veteran airsofters, but people are very experienced. And it's a different kind of game. That's when things like the tag flashbangs come out and things like that. And so the pyros get a bit of a beefer, hence why everyone starts to wear ear pro and things like that. And also it's just the caliber of players. It's like there on the Tuesday, if you get shot 4 or 5 times because someone's just come around the corner and blitzed you, you can't moan about it because you signed up for that. You attended a Team Tuesday where it's more competitive. Whereas, say, if you turned up on a Sunday, which is a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more casual, only Mark 5s and things like that, where it's more open to the younger generation and things like we don't necessarily need ear protection. Then if you get overshot, you've got all reason to moan, so to speak. But that was a very good way that Josh implemented and controlled the more experienced CQB players, not necessarily ruining the younger kids' days and things like that by saying, look, come on Team Tuesdays, all of them experienced, have at it with each other, and then having certain days for different things. Like you were saying, if you had a site change.
I think, you know what I'd love as well? On top of that, if you was running a site for adults, somewhere I could go and sign a waiver that sort of, let's say I go and sit in the video or I have an induction or something and I do a waiver, and then every time I turn up to that site I don't have to go through the same bullshit unless the rules change.
Almost like
I go in there, I sign something to say I've 100% read and agreed to these rules for a year or whatever. I've sat down, watched an introduction video that's been 2 hours long or whatever, but now I can keep going back to the site for 12 months and we can just get kicking off straight away, you know what I mean? Rather than sitting in no one wants to sit in a safety briefing for an hour, do they? Still there, Andy?
Josh touched upon something. Josh touched upon something earlier on. It's my motivation for trying to do my own airsoft site, which I was fed up with pussies.
He cut out then and all I heard was fed up of pussies.
Yeah, you can kind of hear you. Can't see you. You're frozen on my screen.
I can't tell if he's doing that on purpose now. So
it was the.
I don't know if you
hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Is that better?
Your video's froze though.
Your screen's a bit bouncing.
But yeah, I'm sure he'll be back in a minute. I think it's your side, Andy. I think you might have a bit of an issue. Nice kit up on the walls there. Yes. I think Josh made me up my backdrop game when he decided to come on stream the once, and he had like loads of guns behind him. And I was like, oh shit, I need to sort myself out.
I've moved behind the counter now, so not as many, but
yeah. Andy, you back?
Are we there, Andy?
I think he's that thought sort of it's like a still image. It's like you're running at like 3 FPS. I never wear face protection, only glasses, and I've had to pop BBs out of my forehead and chin before my mouth shots. And mouth shots galore. Headshots do not bother me at all. It's my own responsibility. Yeah, it is 100%. If you don't mind it.
Oh, on that, but I like my teeth too much.
They're the first game I went to. I think the first time I ever got shot in an airsoft game, I got shot in the lip. And if it was like half a centimetre below, I'd have definitely lost a tooth because he was like 5 minutes away from me. So I think
BB out before
the risk you take. Yeah, you've got so much more choices now for face protection than what we had years ago. It was like a full face mask or nothing type of thing. But them old paintball masks were horrendous. Yeah. This old helmet, they're airsoft. Yes, they are. We're here in the UK. If we had this stuff, we'd probably be locked up very quickly if it was real. What do you think about playing the sniper role at one duel when an assault can catch you with 30 BBs a second at the same distance? Now,
it kind of defeats the purpose of having a volley, isn't it, and being able to hit that extra range if you're limited to one duel.
I honestly think in that kind of scenario, your friend is stealth. Like there's a site by me that runs, a 350, 360 limit across the board. You can run a sniper if you want to, but you're still governed by the same limits, and it's because their site is overgrown. It's quite close up. But I have seen people there run a bog standard TMG spec at 208 FPS and absolutely dominate because no one can tell where they're being shot from. So there's also a lot of people in Ireland. Is it Ireland or Northern Ireland? Got the one duel in it.
I don't know.
And they run bolties at one duel and they still have a good time. So I don't think it's as simple as if you're running at one duel, you're limited to the same performance as an AEG. It probably pushes you to get the most out of your system as possible.
Yeah.
You back yet, Andy?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah, I think if I do it in a condensed way, just in case I get cut off again by YouTube censoring, it's the reason why I actually set up my own site for the smaller amount of games that we play, because I actually wanted to handpick the people that I wanted to play with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was like there was some people that I'd never met that I saw their persona on Facebook and the way that they were playing Milsim LARPing, but still had a skirmish mentality. There were some young people that were just bang up for whatever was happening. There were some people that were gear whores. There were people that played the objective. There were some tech heads who just wanted a performance thing. So I think my game, we kind of got up to about 45 players, maybe tops, but it was a hand-picked crew. It was a little bit like Fight Club. You know what I mean? It was like, I don't want every Tom, Dick or Harry coming onto my site. And I think that's, if I go back to the pub analogy, it's like, if you look at some of the most exclusive places to go in London, they're hand-picked, invite-only, like word-of-mouth clubs. You know, you pay a huge membership to go to Shoreditch House, if anybody's ever heard of that. It's like 20 grand for the membership, and you've got to get a recommendation to go into the bar. There's that level of airsoft, which I think there's a market for, which is, I think the Milsim lot do it really well. You know, I've been on one of these, I've been on the Gucci sales thread, well, WhatsApp thread, and obviously they have priced out people from being shit airsofters because they've got top to tail decent gear, nods, this is that, the other. You've got to have some decent kit to play. And that might sound a bit elitist, but what that has done is priced out anyone who's not really serious about the experience. So I've done a similar sort of thing without being pretentious about gear and going, all right, so I want to pick 10 players that are into LARPing and Milsim, 10 players that will get the objective, 10 players that don't mind interaction, and therefore you handpick your crew. But this is the difference where I think when airsoft becomes a real big commercial interest, there's very few people that get the whole experience right. Obviously Sterling do, Andy from UCAP does, pick the guys from, and despite the fact some people disagree with this, but I agree with it, Goodman and Octo 8, they get it right for their crew. You have to almost, for want of a better word, we'll say groom, it's a dirty word, but you almost have to like spot the type of players that you want into your field. You know, it's like if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. So if you're not standing for a particular type of game or particular type of experience, you'll just get any Tom, Dick or Harry come on and ruin that game. But there are some sites that handle shit players really well. Like Paul from West Midlands Airsoft does this amazing thing for a CQB site, which is, Kicking Mustang, third hotel. If you're looking to be on, we'll still be on. So it's just on the Instagram. So if there is like a great rule that Paul Wright from West Midlands Airsoft does is, If there's somebody accused of cheating, they'll give them a warning. If they're accused of cheating again, they'll get them to take all of their rig off. So everything that you could use as a defence to turn around and say you're not hearing it or fearing it or feeling it. And then if you get caught not cheating, you must be cheating, because it's very difficult to not feel something at 300 to 350 FPS in an indoor range. So there is a way of hand picking your regulars, you know what I mean, and vetting them, vetting your regulars.
All at West Mids, I probably hold in the highest regard. He's probably one of the best site owners I've ever come across, ever. Has he banned Kicking Mustang? Mm-hmm. No, he hasn't. Because you go to his site, and if you're a dickhead, you get banned. If you're not a dickhead, you're apple pie. And I'm pretty sure James has been to his sites multiple times, and I hold Paul's opinion quite highly because he's a very switched-on bloke. And he's the only person that I've ever been to of a site where when he said he's going to do something, he actually does it. If you take the piss and you break the rules, you're gone, mate. There's all this threatening to chuck you off site, and it never happens. If you break the rules and you put people's safety in danger, he will definitely chuck you off. I think a lot of people need to learn from that. But there's a fine line of where he does it with a lot of common sense, and if you take the piss, he'll chuck you off. He's not on a power trip. He's not trying to belittle you in any way. In fact, he's probably doing you a lot of favours more than anything, because he's telling you that you ain't playing the game right. And if you go to the sites and play the game the same way, you're probably going to get banned. But question here from one of your Facebook users: have we already could have booby traps? I think you're probably referring to what Mustang may have done at the Gangster City event with the grenades in the doors. We spoke about this. He was smashing people at that event with his MP9. I thought it was quite funny. And I was at that event, and I was given the same safety briefing as what a lot of other people were. And it was said you couldn't use tripwires. That's what they said. You cannot use tripwires. I didn't say anything else. Obviously, you're not going to start putting, I think they said don't put tremors on top of doors, because if a tremor falls off the top of a door, hits you on the head, it's going to cause harm. But I thought what he actually did was very intuitive, and he was well within the rules of the game. So he takes a tag grenade, which has a spoon, pulls the pin out on the spoon, and then he puts the tag grenade with the spoon in between a closed door. So as they come in and they start room clearing, as they open the door, it pops the spoon. I thought that was genius. I was like, oh shit, if I'd have thought of that. You know what made me laugh about that video, though? How the marshal told him off and said, you can't do that. And he was like having a debate with him. And he was like, oh, you know what, mate? Okay, I won't do that anymore. The guys are still pushing through the building, and they're still setting the grenades off that he sort of planted like 15 minutes ago. Absolutely golden for timing, I think. But
I said something in there, though. There was I don't think some players, whether it's against a sniper or whether it's forget about his identity for a second, whether it's against a sniper or whether it's against a really good player, or whether it's against, let's face it, there's some teams that roll like squads. They know what they're doing. And I think in Airsoft, there's a lot of people that when they get their ass handed to them by one or several players, it ends up changing their mood. And I think it's because people go to Airsoft games hoping to get as many kills as they possibly can. And those people that don't get those kills are unfulfilled. Whereas there are some people that can go to an Airsoft game and say, I might not have had the most, excuse the term, contact, or might have the most firefights or shootouts, whatever. But they go away thinking that there was a level of intensity and adrenaline or sportsmanship or team camaraderie. And it goes back to some of the principles of team games, which is in football, lots of people don't like strikers because they're glory hunters. In the armed forces and obviously in Airsoft, some people don't like snipers. You know what I mean? So there's different parts of aspects of culture which don't like certain aspects of their own internal culture. And I think that comes down to a case of going, well, people go to a game with their own expectations of what they're trying to get out. And it falls back to my comments of going, well, unless your whole player base and to a certain degree your site base, the people who are managing the site, unless there's an ethos which turns around and says, we know what we're turning up to play. We know how to manage the players. We know how to show respect to the staff. The staff know how to look after the players. It's when you get that whole roundedness, which I've only ever seen at West Midlands Airsoft. Rift was definitely that, And when you actually get that, what was that? You remember that thing in Jerry Maguire that the Cuba Gooding Jr.'s character says about? It's called the Quan. It's everything. It's when the respect and everything all comes into place. It's not just about the kills or the gameplay or this, that, the other. It's the whole experience. And there's very few airsoft sites I've been to that can turn around and go, the team camaraderie was on the level, the marshalling was on the level, all of it was on the level. You know, that, and I think that's the thing that most people don't see. You can go to an airsoft site expecting things to be as good as where you've been to the last games, and they're just not. You know, they're never going to be. So,
do you think sometimes
the
marshals
eat too much
the marshals don't ever want to deal with confrontation? So let's say a player moans about something that they're just being an absolute idiot for. Instead of going, mate, you're being an idiot, and you know you need to just shut up and play the game. Just sometimes they're a bit like they don't want the conversation. Like, oh yeah, I'll go sort that out now. I'll go have a go at him. Do you think it's that? Do you think people don't want to just turn around and say, mate, you're just being a pansy. Just go back to respawn.
But it's the tone of the site, isn't it? It's the tone of the game. You're going to have some sites where if you did that, people have phoned the police and said they're suffering from harassment, alarm, and distress. And you go to another site, you'd have a marshal do that, and they go, you know what, Marsh, you're absolutely right. Let me get my brain in check, and I'll get into it. And if you look at, let's say, not so much, I'm not going to talk about too much of the other airsoft groups, but in Arabs, I've noticed that it's mostly 30 to 50-year-old blokes. Do you know what I mean? And there's some rough and ready geezers on there. I'm not saying it's the best group on Facebook, but it's probably the one which pulls its least punches. So if I was to organise an Arabs game somewhere, I guarantee you, for the vast majority of it, people would enjoy getting hit the crap out of. They take the hits and they do it. And why is that? Because it's a certain tone of group. Now, that's the same with airsoft sites. The moment you take somebody who is used to soft and fairy and you stick them into sandpaper and glass, they're not going to last. You know what I mean? Whereas some people like it rough. I bet they do, but you know, some people like it like that. Josh, I know you like it rough. You know, James, you kind of like it. You like a bit of dinner first, and then you like the rough. And I think that's what needs to be educated to the masses, which is.
Where's my dinner?
It goes back to what I said to ATB. Maybe there needs to be more clarity. Like if you go to you get like a health hygiene certificate when you walk into a kebab shop. And if it's got nothing and there's boxes all over the floors and there's rat droppings on there, stands a chance you're probably going to have good food, but it's going to kill you. And if you go to somewhere where it's like 5-star hygiene, they've got the gloves and the hairnet on and this, that, and the other, you know it. Now, if you look at restaurant reviews and Michelin star, all of these places which you've got public access have got ratings. You've got no ratings in airsoft. You've got airsoft groups chatting shit. So in actual fact, what you do need is to turn around and go, from a 0 being, you might as well bring Nerf, and we ban players that are swearing, because you know in Josh down in the Southwest, you've got somebody that will ban players from swearing on site, so she can go and kick rocks. At the very, very top of it, you've got somebody that turns around and says, listen, if your AEG is doing 370 FPS on .2s, we're all right with that. In fact, we encourage it. So, but how do you know, in Airsoft, how do you know which site is to go to? You don't.
I've got an opinion on that in just a second, but I just want to go on touch on this comment. Someone had a fake emergency called a ceasefire saying he broke his leg. Paul found out and banned him. I was there on that day, and Paul had so much going on. He had people causing issues. He was dealt with. This one guy called a fake ceasefire saying he broke his leg. So Paul had called an ambulance. The ambulance is on the way, and then they find out it's just some kids messing about. So fair enough. Paul, chucked him off site. You know, you've made us call an ambulance out. That's going to cost how much money to personally call an ambulance out to an airsoft site? I'm not really too sure, but I think he was saying it cost him money, or it cost the ambulance money, or whatever. And it's just a dickhead thing to do. So the guy got kicked off site. I was there that day. I saw it happen. Not long after that, another guy who had like 10 or 14 heart attacks in his life had gone there with his kids and started like getting weak in the chest. So they had to call the ambulance out there again. And it was just one thing after the other. And I said to one of the marshals, I've never known such an amount going on that could go wrong, that Paul's just like switched on about it. Bam, 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 done. Dickhead, off site, away you go. Oh, there's a guy that's clutching his chest and he needs medical help. Let's get an ambulance here right away. Cleared the cars out in the car park, got the ambulance up. Ambulance crew get there, sort him out. Why you go to an airsoft game after you'd suffered like 10 or 14 heart attacks, I don't know. So it was kind of asking for trouble. But in terms of you saying, like, you know, go to some airsoft sites, you know, they've run 370, they're happy for you to do whatever. I've started posting up some videos on YouTube, which are like short videos, YouTube shorts. And the one that I just recently posted up was me shooting my mate in the head with a pistol. And you'll see it's in like a built-up kill house type thing. And that was something Fireball did a long time ago. And it was called Black Ops. And this is like going like back like 10 years or something. And the whole premise around Black Ops was it was a select few from Fireball Squadron at the time that were invited to come back and run restricted player games. So usually there was about 20 to 30 people there at all. And we were like going through Kill House and it was full auto. You could full auto everybody. You know, guys, you're going in here, have full face on. If you don't have full face on, it's your own mistake. If you get shot in the face, we don't want to hear about it. That was the ethos. And we played that game. And you know what? We never had a single issue. We never had a single hit call issue. We never had anyone bitching about me being shot. And it was at that event where actually, I don't know if I told you this before, when I went round a corner and a guy had his M16 and he pulled the trigger, like he flinched, pulled the trigger, and it blew my nose open. And you know what I did? I walked to my kit. I didn't moan or anything like that. Said, it's not your fault. Went and put my full face on, went back in the kill house and started full on. People was having fun. And it was like no restricted rules. It was just full on. And we had an absolute blast. And it ran so well. And it's just, I think it's just proof that it does work. So, you know, I don't know if you've ever been to some games where you can go indoors and shoot full auto.
Yeah, done a private game like that.
It was in the conversations I've had with, I'm going to call him Kicking Mustang, I'm not calling him James. With the conversations I've had with Kicking Mustang, I've broached this, and it's the area which he least wants to compromise on, and I understand it. When it comes, he said he's coming on in about 45 minutes anyway. But where he least compromises on, and I get this is one of the very few parts of what he's talking about, which I get. And it was to do with giving too much compromise to airsofters to allow control over what is right and wrong within airsoft. You know, so, you know, if you have this thing about you're playing too hard, too many headshots, etc., as he will explain, the moment you take a knee, and admit that your site or the game is playing too hard, those people that are moaning about the extremity of the game will turn around and say, okay, now you've taken the knee on headshots, we want you to take the knee on minimum engagement distance. Then we want you to put your hand out.
Compromise after compromise.
The rule should be mandatory. And then once you've got that, they'll take that away. And then the next thing will be pyro or use of anything above 2.8. And I'll take that. And so by the time that you start giving too much away to the airsoft community, one aspect of it, then they want everything, and that by which time they have, I won't say pussified the game, but they've diluted the game so much. Now he's steadfast against that culture, and I kind of agree and I don't. But the problem is with airsoft is that there's very little compromise and there's very little education. You know, like if you want to play hardcore airsoft, it should be promoted. It shouldn't be hearsay. And if you want to play soft airsoft, then that should be promoted. But you can't have one chat shit about the other, because it's like sex.
So should we call this hyper?
Some people want it, vanilla. You can't knock somebody who wants to get strangled for somebody that only has sex once a month. You know, so
are we calling this hypothetical adult game Air Hard?
Wow.
Air hard. So airsoft is air hard.
Erect soft.
But yeah, you know, I totally agree. And if he does join us, he says about 40 minutes away.
Yeah, the last message I got on InstaShit was 30 minutes from the hotel if you're still going on. I said, yes, still on. I'm sober. Because obviously the last time I was on here, he called me out for slurring my words. Which I was. And then he goes, you'll have me for one beer.
We honestly, we went so hot. We got smashed, yeah. We got absolutely smashed. To be honest, he actually had, we called James out and we said, you know, come and join us on the 18th. And he actually messaged me. He's like, guys, you're actually quite, you came out across as hypocrites. And it wasn't the fact that we were hypocrites. We were just pissed. So we were calling him out about the banter and then promoting the Arabs Airsoft Ransom Bands page.
that goes back to,
you know, fair enough. If we were,
I'm not turning around and saying that UK airsoft community should be like Arabs. It'd have a meltdown. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like if I exposed the 2,200 people of Arabs and they actually went into a UK airsoft community,
to the wild.
You just destroy them. Do you know what I mean? I had to start trying to bully Tim Brown on Pew Pew because Tim's lovely, but like I kept taking the mick out of Tim because of how much he's doing for the RBLI. Do you know what I mean? It was almost like PTSD is the only thing that's worth raising charity for on Pew Pew. But you can't go on. I wouldn't go onto Tim's page and then take that piss out of him because he's raised 50 grand for RBLI, but I still want to take the mick out of it. So, well, what about my granddad with dementia? Doesn't he matter? Do you know what I mean? But I couldn't take that to Pew Pew because like, oh my God, I can't believe you're chastising Tim. But well, that's banter. Tim will get it because I have the banter with him. But I couldn't personally go onto Pew Pew and turn around and say, "Oh, Tim's just a Royal British Legion fanboy." Do you know what I mean? Like, there's like, what about poor kids in Africa and my granddad with dementia? Don't he matter? And then like they would have that tirade on Pew Pew, going, "Oh my God, on Arabs I can say that shit and people will see it funny." Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing about Arabs. What people don't realise about Arabs is that everybody who runs a forum, a group, is on there being how they want to be, that they can't be on their own bloody groups.
Well, Arabs is kind of like a perfect example for a more adult airsoft page, isn't it? You know, where you can come in and be yourself and no one's going to get bent out of shape about it. Well, that's what the original premise was for.
It is the Monty Python and the Victor Meldrews of airsoft. And if you don't like One Foot in the Grave or Monty Python, do you really exist? Do you know what I mean? Like, are you a worthy human if you don't like either one or both of those programs? No, then I don't need to know you. You know what I mean?
We've got a request. Can we have blue BBs for air hard?
I love blue tracers.
Shooting Viagra.
Oh God!
New Viagra tracer BBs.
See, 50. Or you can either have the 50 milligrams or the 100 milligrams of being extra hard.
I ain't saying we're going to go get no airsoft site, but all I'm saying, if anybody pops up calling anything air hard now, you heard it here first.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what happens if you're not taking your hits, you have to like, it's like a BB Bukaki party where you just sit in the middle and everybody just unloads their load all over your face. You know what I mean? That's it. That's the question we should be asking James, really. Are you really into airsoft Bukaki? Is that what it's really about? Is the real reason why the headshots are there because you like unloading in people's faces?
Oh dear. Right. I'm going to take a quick toilet break. So I'll be back in just a sec. He's going to be on about half an hour, so we'll see how that goes.
All right, Josh, let's just sit here and just talk about MTWs all day long.
Oh, go on. HVA Master Race instead.
Right, listen. I'm going to talk about the MTW for a bit, mate, because I'm going to be honest with you on stream here. You've talked me out of buying the new range, right? But can you guess why that is? Can you guess how you've managed to talk me out of buying the new MTW?
Because we've been talking about doing AG builds recently.
No, I'm going to
tell you. Fucking no.
No.
Why did you want to buy it?
I'll tell you what it came down to, right? Was like, well, you spent a lot of time with my MTW, and you've nurtured it, you've cared for it, you've given it confidence in the world, you've told it that it is value. No, basically, when I give my MTW to you, you took it. I was having right problems with it. We solved the contact spring issue, but then you did the Gucci thing, you did the max up with the Super Macron nub, and then the PDI thing. And then I turned around to him and said, well, that's your own little touch. That's your own little trial and error on the MTW. And that's shooting 80, 90 meters. If we ramp it up to past the FPS and we lock it to semi, I can get 90 to 100 meters out of the MTW. And then I turned around and says, oh, this new mil-spec one with the Phoenix hop and this is that the other. What am I getting out of that? You went 70 meters. And I went, why am I going to spend £600 on the mil-spec gun, which is only doing 70 meters with their brand new hop, when I'll give my gun to you, you spend another 250 quid and you're getting 80, 90 meters. Does that make sense?
I completely get what you mean, because the thing is, I got one here by me, and what you're paying for is that forward assist, that dust cover, that forged receiver, the Gucci new handguard, sexy flash item. The majority of things you're actually buying there, number one is structural integrity with the forged upper receiver. But apart from that, you're paying for the aesthetics of things which people basically didn't like on the original. You're paying for improvements on the aesthetics. Yeah. Yes, the Phoenix Hop unit is decent, but it's still just got an ASG brass barrel on it. So the upgrades which we do on the other ones, Need to buy an MWS. That's an MWS. I got it right there.
MWS love.
Gang. Can't go wrong with
MWS is it's a different platform though to an MT.
It's completely different.
Is it MWS? MWS, you know, we start doing some like gang signals, MWS, you know.
Like
West Side.
Well, you could do an M and a W. How did you do the S?
I can't do that one. That's really bad.
That way.
MW and then like
MWS.
I don't fucking know. It's one of the ways. Isn't it?
You need three people to do it.
I'm gonna say, is this sign language for speed softness?
To be fair, some of the American speed softness it is.
How would you interpret sign language for speed soft when it's just speed soft is just more of a noise, isn't it? It's just like
autistic
screeching. Like a super fast high capper shooting full auto with a M4 mag attached to it.
I'm probably going to do the Arabs Awards ceremony thing, and it was I'd put a question in there: is what is speed soft? I tell you, the reason why I don't like speed soft because I'm too fat. Yeah, I'm too unfit.
Amen.
Actually, I'm not fat. I'm too unfit. Do you know what I mean? If an emulsive thing was to turn around and say, here and carry 70 kilograms for the next couple of hours, I'd be able to do it. If somebody turned around and said, can you run 100 meters to go and get an objective? Like, fuck no.
Yeah.
I can Overwatch.
Yeah, Overwatch.
I can Overwatch from afar. I can get there tactically very quickly by walking.
Yeah, tactical crawl. You know, one of those. So the reason why, categorically, the reason why I hate speed soft is because I'm too old, too slow, and I look shit in lycra. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Josh, somebody's asking you a legitimate airsoft question here. Have you had any experience with Daytona kits for the...
Oh, Daytona kits are fucking lovely. For an SA80, fuck no.
No, what's an SA58? Is that like an SA80 with more money I've taken off it?
I don't fucking know. It's not a
SA58.
What's an SA58?
It's an SA58.
Oh, is it? Oh, right, okay. Do you know what the SA58 sounds like?
Kind of like
in Call of Duty when they can't call it an SA80, they call it an SA79.
It's 58 is very fallish.
Is it just like a stubby foul crossbred with like a Galil thing?
It's like a foul kind of. It's like a fatter style magazine that sort of
yeah, I see.
Puts in like an SLR, I think.
Fair one. I have not, but if you get one, please, I will pay for you to come down here, and I will happily fondle that. I love the foul. I love everything which looks like a foul, and Daytona kits are awesome. In theory,
you'll get. I mean, I do have a couple of subscribers on the YouTube channel which are absolute gun nuts, and it will give them nightmares the fact that we're referring to an SA58 as close to being like if I get one numeric or letter wrong in the abbreviation of a firearm, it's like how dare you!
I get what you mean.
So where do you live again? In the UK? Can you even have real guns? I'll have you know that I edit Wikipedia and the gun pages. Yeah, trust me, I've had some really weird conversations on YouTube.
Oh, you can really have some funny ones. Daytona kits, I definitely would recommend getting one. They're very, very well built. My personal experience would be, well, my personal recommendation, have a chat with them themselves who make them and ask them to set up for you. Reasoning why, the biggest issues I've ever seen with Daytonas are people who buy the kits not tuned and then try and do it themselves. Guys who make them, they know how to tune them. They offer a pre-tuning service, so you can buy the gun pre-bedded in, pre-tuned, ready to go.
Someone in the Arab group recently built a Daytona, Jimpy or something. I can't remember his name.
More than likely, there's a few kicking about in the UK.
I think he was a gangster. He was on the Yakuza side. I think he's just. I can't remember his name.
There was a guy
maybe Ben
who had a Daytona M249 that he's just built, or just got working nicely. I was having a chat with him.
Ben Gittis Nash, I think it might be. He was a gangster. I'm pretty sure I saw he was building a Daytona Jimpy or something, and it sounded awesome. They do have the noise, don't they?
But with the kick that you get from HB and that kind of consistency, it's basically the perfect mix between, crossbreed between the MTW and the gas blowback and then MWS. And I did at some point, well, as you know, James, we've kind of been toying with the idea of designing a recall kit for the MTW, which would be amazing. But yeah, best person to speak to anything about Daytona, have a chat with them themselves. They're really open. They're normally, I mean, they're busy. They are a busy company, but they will reply to you and they will help with any questions. So to the person who asked about that, I would say approach them, speak to them about it first, and go from there, because it's not something in the UK we get very often, and it's not, especially a SA58. I've never seen one of those in the flesh. I'd love to. Pros and cons of the MTW. Yes, James. Oh, platform the Fusion engine. That's an interesting one. MTW.
Yeah, you know what I love most about the MTW is I didn't have to buy it. I just traded something for it. We were talking earlier, actually, that someone called me a peasant for not having a new...
hold on a second. You just mentioned that golden word there. You do trade-ins. Oh.
No.
Right.
No. I don't do trade-ins. I had a lovely HPA MP7 on the wall behind me, which I've had on the YouTube channel for ages. It started as an AEP, and I built it up, and eventually went to a bingo kit that was absolutely horrendous. I highly recommend you never build one because it was such a pain to get right. But once it was right, it was lovely. But it was sat there. I'd never used it, and someone got in touch with me and said, "Do you want to trade an MTW for it?" And I was like, "Hell yeah, I'll trade an MTW for it, because if everything goes to shit, that I know someone, a good friend of mine, who really wants one." So I was like, "Well, if I don't get on with it, I'll just sell it to him." you know. But first impression.
Can I drop a question to you two? I asked Matt from Ammo Drop once this question, yeah, and it was when I first started airsoft. I was buying secondhand, and then I found out a couple of police auctions that were selling off a bulk load of airsoft guns. Coincidentally, the police didn't ask me for a UCARA when I bought that shit, so meh. Anyway, why is there no trading value? Why is there not like a secondhand trading aspect of airsoft?
Have you ever bought anything secondhand or traded anything in the airsoft community?
Yeah.
You always get fucked over.
You do. This is a hard thing as well, is that, say if somebody comes into the shop and they say, "Oh, I want to trade." We get it all the time. James, you probably do as well. Probably one of the most common questions we get is, "I've got this gun. Will you trade it for equivalent value?" And the thing is, two things happen. You either give them a valuation of their 10-year-old VFC, which has shat itself 20 times, and say, "I'll give you 100 quid off of the gun," and say, "Oh, I spent 300, 400 pounds." I was like, "Yeah, but I don't know you. I don't know how long that gun is. All I know is it's old, and I'm probably not going to be able to sell it on."
The main thing you want to compare it to, have you ever took your car or your car details to We Buy Any Car?
Yeah.
How much you get shafted, and if you try and trade in a car to a business, they've got to make money on it. You know, car trade values up and down. I'm from the motor trade, previously, so I know a little bit about this, but you always get shafted on trading value, and airsoft would be the same way for a company. Let's say customer A goes out and buys a TM Recoil 416. He runs it for a year, he brings it in. The thing's lovely, but he wants to trade it into you. It's a bit scratched up. How do you put a value on it that's not him going to? Because if you notice this from the forums and the Discord groups and the Facebook groups, when people sell airsoft gear, they sell it for more than it's what you can get it new for. It doesn't make any sense. The airsoft trade community is just so screwed up that, let's say you bring 416 recoil into me or Josh and you want to trade it in for something, and I say, right, as a trading value, I know nothing about this gun. I can't strip it apart in front of you and tell you whether you've put like a load of Chinese gears in it or anything like that. I'm going to offer you 200-300 quid for it. You're going to go, "Oh, no, it's worth more than that," and you're going to go out and sell it elsewhere, aren't you?
I think we've frozen on Arabs. It's like stuck. It's like on the Arab stream. I was going to check the YouTube stream to see if we've not been shut down by GCHQ.
They shut us down.
Yeah. Oh, you guys take their shit. Let's have a look.
Is it frozen?
No, we're good. Good on YouTube.
Okay.
I think we're good on Arabs as well. It's cool.
Can somebody comment? Let us know if we're shafted or not.
I think we're okay. It's showing on my screen.
Is it? Okay. Mine's
it's a bit of a delay, so it might have just stuttered a little bit.
There's a delay in there.
Okay.
But yeah, I think some shops might do it, but for what you need to buy that gun in at used, if you bought a used gun from an airsoft shop as well, what would you be expected to pay for it? You wouldn't want to pay retail value, would you?
It's a real hard one. I mean, a perfect example, one thing I did want to say is Nick Woodhead is a perfect example of somebody who's made it work. Is Nick Woodhead? I'm thinking
As you know, Nick's a good guy. I know him, but he's the reason why Matt said he wouldn't, because you're always going to adopt someone's nightmare.
You will, yeah.
And that's what Nick did. Nick basically sucked up all of the shit in airsoft and made a business of it. Do you know what I mean? It's like, what's that horrible sea creature that everybody? It's like cockles, you know, like the bottom feeders of the fishing world. Like, yeah, what else is this? Cockles. What else eats shit off the sea? Prawns and all that kind of thing. It's like the crap of the ocean. And Nick made a business off the crap that's out there. I tell you what, he's got a cracking site there, Redworks Airsoft. And
we need to go and check it out.
But he has had a lot of shit to deal with online. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's
airsoft imports. Is that what I'm thinking of?
Yeah.
Liquid. Yeah.
But the thing is, though, you use the analogy about the motor trade. One of the things that you do in the motor trade, you know yourself, when you're taking in a used car, you do an appraisal. You walk around that car 3 times, top to bottom, dents, chips, bonnet.
But if you think how big a car is, you can walk around, get the outside value of it. You can check service history.
Yeah.
You can check the wheel of the car. You know, you can do your due diligence to a point where you can get an accurate view. And people do get shafted in the motor trade. Don't get me wrong. We used to take cars in that had an absolute, stellar service history. The car looked absolutely immaculate. You pay top dollar for it. You get it in, and then you find out some random part in the engine, whether it's the turbo or something that you only notice is a problem over time of driving it for like 10-15 minutes, and then you're $2,000 out of buying a brand new turbo for a car that you didn't want in the first place. So I think with airsoft, you could fire it. You could go, oh yeah, that's sweet,
But I tell you what, you just hit upon the nail on something though. There's 2 degrees of the used car trading. There's the one where you're expected to sell that car back on your forecourt, and there's one where you sell it to auction. You know, and sometimes actually disposal of it, saying, "Listen, I'll take that off your hands because it ain't worth crap."
We never took a car in the car trade where we'd sell it at auction.
Really?
Because you could get money down.
Yeah,
people tend to buy cars in at an auction to sell, but you don't take a trade in and then send it to auction. I mean, you might get someone like a lease company. Like I used to work for Lloyd's Auto Lease. I used to inspect cars that had been, a lease car come back, and you do the mileage and shit and the paintwork. So if you're a big company like that, or you're like, we used to have a big at the car auctions, we used to have a big account with Renault. So Renault would give all their really cheap Part X's into the car auctions, and then we'd sell them off just because, it was just, they were just knacker boxes at the end of the day. But I think he's just rage quit. But I think, with airsoft, it's completely different, or it might even be more of the same. It's just not towards that amount of value where you can, like the market, the motor trade market. If you look at the car, everything's monitored. Like you have books that go out that tell you how much a car should be worth. You've got Auto Trader, you've got Click Dealer, and other bits and pieces like that. They'll always tell you. You put the mileage and the reg of a car. They'll tell you an average trading value, so you don't even have to do that kind of work. You've got that platform there. So for something as mainstream as the car industry, I can imagine it would work. But for airsoft, it'd be an absolute minefield.
It's too much risk, realistically speaking, unless that's your main source and it's just your bread and butter. Simply put, it's just, and the thing is as well, it's like the guns that we're selling, in the nicest way, we kind of want to sell them for money. That's what it's there for.
What? The thing is as well, a lot of guns.
You're not doing this for the greater good of the community.
I try, Andy.
Well, and I probably think you do. You probably would as well, Josh. Is you get people coming in thinking that you can apply like a massive discount to a gun because they honestly think there's a massive markup in these guns, and there's not.
They think if they're spending 600 quid on a recoil that we're making like 500 quid profit. I'm like, I would not be here right now. I'd be
You're lucky to earn 5 to 10% on a TM recoil nowadays, depending on where you buy it from.
Realistically, that's all you're making.
We stopped doing a lot of discount. We do like a standard 5% on the website if you get the code. But apart from that, it just doesn't benefit you in the long run. You're just harming your business, and Yeah, we might do deals where we do like, I don't know, a certain product, and we'll do a special price for like Christmas or Black Friday or whatever. I think there's a massive misconception on how much money people think retail shops earn, but they actually don't.
Yeah, and the thing is, that's the profit on the individual item, not to then take into account the wages for your staff, your business rates, your rent, your insurance. And it's, when you take all of that into consideration, if you only were like doing trade-ins and things like that, you could go like a whole month where you're not making a penny because people are just doing trade-ins. And that can happen. And then you've got a load of guns which you need to now take apart and hope that none of them are shagged.
Yeah. And I have been massively shafted on some trades sometimes.
Yeah.
That gun that you see at the top in the middle there, that's a Red Wolf Airsoft KG9. I had it in a trade, and it's a really specific gun that has really specific proprietary parts.
Yeah.
The hop unit, when I traded it in, I didn't test it because I was, in an environment where I couldn't test it. Took it on face value. The guy said it was fine. Got it back. I find out the hop unit's completely screwed. It's meant to have a bottom part feed tube. It's like a Systema style hop unit. It's meant to have a bottom style feed tube where the magazines touch and they obviously feed into the Systema hop unit. I tried for 2 years to get that part from Red Wolf. They make the gun, and I ended up giving up and ended up like machining the hop unit and making my own feed tube out of an old barrel. So it works now. But in terms of me selling that gun now, I'd have to make someone fully aware that, look, I've modified the hop unit because I can't get the spare part.
Yeah.
And there's been many guns like that, which I'm sure you've had as well. You get it. Yeah. People say, oh, absolutely brilliant gun, works every time. And then you take it apart and you just like, see that first screw that's been rounded off on the gearbox and you're just like, oh, you absolutely
know what's coming.
Yeah, you've been screwed over. So I think the second-hand market in airsoft is a nightmare. If you're buying or selling to strangers, you don't know the state of what they are giving you, no matter what the pictures and videos of it working. So yeah,
100%, yeah. Because at the end of the day, this is the other thing as well. Guns can shit themselves at any point. There is a point where that motor may be on its last legs. Those gears might be about to literally explode inside the gears, and you have no idea until you pull the trigger. So it may be working perfectly, but when they go into the showroom.
It's the game you play, isn't it? And equally, a success story on that is the MWS I've got. You go buy, it's an MTR 16. You go buy that gun brand new off the shelf. It's like £600.
Yep.
I managed to get that in a trade. It had been used a little bit. There's a few little marks on the outside. He'd sold all the spare mags with it. So I ended up getting that gun for £300 because I knew it was a case of buying a spare mag. I was going to Cerakote the outside of it anyway.
Yeah, how much did he get his kidneys for as well? Bloody hell.
It was just, I went into it. I said, look, if it hasn't got a mag, I can't test it. I can't see if it works. It's a massive unknown. I could have to spend like a load of money on parts. I said to him, what's your bottom line? I'll take it now, but it needs to be at the right price. He turned around and said £300. I was like, right, snap your hand off, take it now. And I'll take the risk of me getting that gun and seeing if it's shafted. I said I didn't want any of the accessories with it. Didn't want the case, didn't want the scope or the bipod because they were rubbish anyway. I said, just send me the base rifle. I'll send you £330, whatever it was, and get it to me. He ended up sending it me in the case with the scope and the bipod. So I actually got a really good deal. So sometimes it can actually work in your favour.
Same thing with that E&L, aka that was, so the E&L PMCs back in the day, they weren't cheap. They're 400 plus. They were not cheap guns. I don't know what they are now. And I got that with a Gator Advance.
So what you guys are saying then is like there's like 80% of your argument is I'm not touching most things because it's a bag of shit. But if somebody's got something Gucci to sell, there's a case for that. It's
different. It's a bit different.
I think you need to be very experienced in what you're buying. Like, let's say someone was selling a used MTW. Josh should know straight away that if this part's bad or this part's bad, I can get the part and I can convert it or I can fix it or I can get a new receiver and I can, I've got the expertise there. Like the MTR, I knew that if it came and it was absolutely buggered, I'm going to be Cerakoting it anyway. And now it looks absolutely brand new. It's absolutely beautiful. It's probably worth double what I paid for it now just because it's.
Yeah, from a second-hand vendor as well, I've got a TM416 Dev Brew, and I've even had Dave on the show who now turns me around and told me that the uppers and lowers are very difficult to get off. I'm now selling my the Dev Brew 416 upper and lower for £3,500. You know, so it's there.
See, sometimes it works in your favour, doesn't it?
You know what I mean? Buy Gucci, buy once. You know what I mean? So.
But yeah, you can
custom airsoft conversion done to my gun, which has brought it down to 350 quid. But yeah, the upper and lower.
And like okay, another example, like the VFC MP7 AEG I've got there. I got that with a bunch of mags for cheaper than what you buy the gun for, just because I was in the right place at the right time. A friend of mine had bought it. He said, I bought it on a whim. I probably can't, I'm never going to use it. Give me like whatever, 200, 300 quid for it. I can't remember how it was. So I got myself a really good deal. So sometimes it does work in your favour.
But the problem with doing things like trade-ins is it's either all or nothing kind of deal. You can't be that picky. I mean, you can, but it ain't like too.
I've got an idea here. Why don't we do like? And this would be a good way to have a business. You know, giving away the business idea, but this isn't the Dragon's Den. Why don't we do like a QVC auction of guns live? And you're selling guns live like this, and then people will actually understand that some things are just worth sweet FA because no one bids on them. And then obviously when people are bidding on an AAP pistol, which has been pissed on by Bespoke or so, whatever it is, then they're selling for like 12 grand because it's been blessed by the hand of God. Maybe there's a market. Maybe there's a market here to do like online auctions. It's like, oh, I've got a TM416 Delta, which has been done by Camera Rage, and it's like, well, who did it? Is it Miguel or is it the other guy? Because if it's Miguel, it's probably been shouted at, and he's got anxiety and wants to leave the field. Yeah. So, but then if it's been done by the other guy, it's like, that shoots 120.
So you get on the subject of PTWs, as this guy on YouTube just said, it can turn the flip way for you. I remember building a PTW years ago. Probably cost me thousands to build. I went and sourced a specific receiver. I went and sourced a specific upper. It was all CNC machine. I basically built this PTW from the ground up. And it was just the supreme. It was like a Formula One car. It really was. It was just utter perfection. PTWs are at their own pain in the arse, which, you know, mags and such. But this gun was beautiful. I probably spent best part of 2.5 grand on that rifle. What did I get for when I sold it? Even though it was in really good condition, I was lucky to get 800 quid.
Yeah.
So,
that's the thing. It's when they're hot and when they're not as well. That's the other thing.
But you know
something's
what?
only worth what
no
someone else is willing to pay for it.
There's no resale value on snorting cocaine. You know, that's the thing that you got to when you're buying that level of like addictiveness and that level of adrenaline rush. Oh my god, I've got an MTW, or oh my god, I've got a PTW, or whatever acronym people are using. Once you tell you what, it's like, you know this, James. It's like when people buy a used car, they realise, yeah, you probably save a little money. When you buy a new car and you take it off the forecourt, you've lost the on the road, the VAT, the tax, the VAT, everything. This is that, the other.
Here is a perfect example. Now, when I was working in the car trade, a guy came into this dealership I was running at the time, and he had a Jaguar not the X type, I think it was the S type. Mm-hmm. It was British Racing Green. It had some really nice deep dish alloys on it. It was modified. It had a rear view camera. It had the works on it. The guy spent a fortune. Even the spare wheel was like a rim, you know, a really nice deep dish alloy. And you wouldn't go out and buy this car, but, you know, it was worth it. And the guy was buying a Mini Cooper S at the time. I remember this guy. And he come in and traded it in. He said, what's the trade value? I gave him a trade value, even though he'd just spent like 2 grand on this car. Getting it roadworthy. I said the trade value is 800 quid, and he's like, "You joking me?" He's like, "No," but I could see the colour drain from his face. And at the time, I had a bit of money. You know, I was like, "Look, it's 800 quid. I think I can get a couple of hundred quid for it." I said, "But I'll personally give you £1,000 for this car right now." In fact, was it that much? It might have even been a little bit less. It might have been less than that. So I ended up buying this car off this guy, this Jaguar. I thought, "Fucking hell, what have I done?" I drive it home. I park it on the drive. I shoved this car on eBay, and my brother was saying to me at the time, because he was like running the 2 dealerships, "Don't get greedy. If you can get 300 or 400 quid for it, you know, happy days." It was in mint condition. It had just rear view cameras for the car. It was a V6, I think it was. Sounded lovely. I put it on eBay, and no word of a lie, I sold that car for almost £4,000. Just out of nowhere. It was on eBay. It was at 500 quid. And then overnight it went from 500 quid to just below £4,000. This guy came down from Scotland, and it was just one of those lucky things. I had no idea what I had. I was just looking to make a couple of £100. Turns out I made 3-4 times what the price what the car was worth. Guy drove down from Scotland, drove it away. He was happy as Lara. So sometimes you can just stumble. And I wasn't out to take the piss out of this guy, but it just so happened that the aim of the game, someone somewhere wanted that car that bad.
They'll pay for it.
Yeah, they'll pay for it, and it was just luck at the end of the day. So you can do that with some guns. Maybe you can get it for a bit of a steal. You can sell it for an absolute fortune. Yeah. You can trade something that's very inexpensive for something that's worth a lot. And sometimes the right deal just comes along. So I think trading value in airsoft shops, I'm pretty sure you probably get asked about it as much as I do, and it's just not worth it.
That's the thing. It's too much of a gamble at the end of the day. But I get what you mean. It's one of those. It's like a seesaw. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's shite, and that's a very fine balance. And it takes the right kind of person to make sure it works. And it's just not.
Some you win, some you lose.
Yeah.
But like this guy says here, when I say anything, I always go by the 70% rule. But who invented that 70% rule? Who told you that a used airsoft gun was worth 70% of what it was originally? Where is that information come from?
But yeah, it's one of those. Obviously, people say about like the first thing you do is you take the tax off and things like that. And
how much people are selling gas blowback? What do you call it? Chris Vectors for now.
£200.
I've been offered a fair old whack for mine.
Like the last time I saw one sell new was on Airsoft Global or something, and it was about $1,800.
Keep it.
A friend of mine managed to get one from another friend of mine. I kind of facilitated a bit of a sale between the two, and he bought it for I think like £400 or £500 or something silly with a load of mags. And then he noticed someone else was selling it for twice what he just paid his for. Like, there's some people on Discord selling a Kaylee Ray Chris Vector for like £850.
Well, if you know anybody who wants to buy one,
it's rare. But all I hear when someone says it's rare is it's hard to get parts for. Yeah, or you can't get parts for it, or if it breaks, you're absolutely screwed.
Unless your name's Luke Negative Airsoft, because he seems to be like bringing guns back from the dead. Do you know what I mean? It's like, this gun's not been issued since 1996. However, I've got a contact in out of Botswana that's managed to be able to get me XYZ piece, Yeah. But, you know what? On a side note, he is somebody that we should really get on in here. Because he is another aspect of the airsoft world, underrated or overrated. I don't know, maybe one of the two. But his perspective on used airsoft and airsoft in general is actually really nice and balanced.
Yeah.
He's not. He hates TM recalls for good, justifiable reason. He hates VFC, but then he can take some stuff which is really, really underrated and then turn it into something magical. So maybe that's where when people have got used guns which they've got no value to because they just want the next best thing. Maybe it's worthwhile that we have a culture of going, okay, I tell you what, it's like upcycling for airsoft. You don't need to get rid of it. You just need some, actually, James, when we first met, that's what you did. You upcycled my turds. You took my G&G Predator, my Crytek SBR something. I can't remember the other one is. And you went, you know what, and you don't need to trade these in. You don't need to, worry about getting them ready for sale so you can sell them off to somebody so you can go buy something nicer. You can actually get them into some good working order and usable and still enjoy them. So do you think actually what people have got is just like, what the latest thing because Bob down the road's got the latest thing, or somebody saying that
most guns can be upgraded to shoot really well. Just depends how far you want to take it monetary wise. But every now and again you'll get a gun come in for work, or someone wants to make it shoot lasers at 100 meters, and you'll look at it and you'll just go, no. This is made up of like 5 different brands of M4. Or 5 different brands of AK. It's just doomed. It's old. Everything's worn out on it. All the screws are threaded.
So having a baby with your sister. Yeah, it's going to come out as a baby, but it's
not worth you spending the time on it. It really isn't. And it's hard to say that sometimes. Going to someone and saying, "Look, this gun, you just need to sell it and start afresh with something that out the box, it's as it is, and you can upgrade it from there because you know what's going on with the rifle." And I've said it to people that have brought me TM recoils and said, I want to spend $1,000 on this and get every part under the sun fitted into it. Why? Because you're going to go and replace every part in the gearbox for something that another company made. It's not like you buy a 416 recoil, you upgrade the piston, it's okay. You upgrade the gears, it's okay. You upgrade the cylinder head, oh, you've got a feeding problem. Let's revert that change and see what's going wrong. You just throw 100 parts at a TM recoil, something doesn't go quite right. You're now playing catch up, trial and error, trying to find out what part is out of spec. You know, do it. You don't have to do it all at once. You do it gradually. You know, most guns are very easy to get to perform better. You don't have to go and wait. You don't have to go, you know, spunk £1,000 on a TM recoil to make it shoot good. Are you kidding?
Do you think actually? I said this. In fact, when did I say this? I chat a lot of shit. So, Joshua, you got to bounce. You got to go.
Man's got to bounce. I'm afraid. Home time person's still at work at the moment.
Well, okay. personal record for you, Josh.
We hit 2 hours before I had to leave.
Do you think it's actually worthwhile having like a competition which is King of the Recoils, which is you take the top 5 people that turn around and say that we're the master at doing recoils, and you turn around and say, I'll tell you what, here's your budget, here's the range, here's the ammo that you can choose from, and then actually go to town and turn around and say, all right.
I am telling you categorically right now, real talk, you go send your TM recoil to one of these companies where they charge you £900 to £1,000 to fully upgrade it.
Mm-hmm.
I will fully upgrade a TM recoil for less than half that price.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have it shooting just as good, if not better.
I'll match that bet. This is a big.
And we've got a, just as Josh leaves us, we actually have someone that's joined in. So let's get him in here. Let's see how we do this.
There we go, James.
Oi, oi.
Evening, boys.
Bloody hell.
Good evening.
I've got a bit of a stutter on my mic. I'm not sure you can hear me okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of a stutter. It gave me a warning when I joined, but it said it should sort itself out shortly.
Yeah, it's like iOS.
In the same boat as Andy.
iOS update on your phone, and then every now and then, what it's going to do is when I'm chatting shit, it's going to bubble, and you can't hear me, and you can just fucking ignore us, you know. So.
Okay, I'll use that as an excuse. How you doing, boys?
Not bad. How's COVID life treating you?
It's not much different for me, mate. I'm cracking on. So what have I missed? I've been driving up. I've headed up north. I've been in the car for 3 hours.
Just perhaps not these pair, but it's just kind of get piss, chat, shit type thing for the past 2 hours.
I'm not.
How's Andy? Can Andy speak properly tonight?
I told you. Oh yeah. He said about he's slurring his words.
Oh no, you sound all right, mate. It sounds good.
I'm at a much slower pace. I'm at a much slower pace compared to the last couple of weeks.
I've used my sponsor, which is Brewdog Roaster Coaster, which is a Vietnamese coffee stout, and it's a combination of chocolate, Guinness, coffee, and some magic ingredients. And this one is 9%. So I've had one of them and a couple of brandies, and now I'm having a hot chocolate.
Is magic ingredients just another word for saying something that you're probably not meant to be putting in your body?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, so let's have a quick rundown. We've touched upon the subjects that me and you have spoke about in the threads. We've talked about airsoft snowflakism, which I think you can expand upon. One of the things that we've had conversations about, which I think has been quite profound, and I've gone, actually, I'm gonna take, and you've said it a few times, I'm gonna take that under advisement, which was taking a knee in airsoft. And that taking a knee in airsoft actually does not just translates to airsoft, but some of the things that you allude to, which is the societal issues about how snowflake culture and cancel culture is actually pissing over airsoft. So I know James have probably got some softer questions that he wanted to ask you, but that's where I'm going to be coming from on this one. So
you've come in swinging.
Yes, that's it.
Let's get that out of the way so I can have an intellectual conversation.
Yeah.
Andy, explain to people what you mean by taking a knee.
Well, I think if I explain it from what you've convinced me of is in airsoft culture, you have a group of people where when you start to admit that you're doing something wrong by their standards, when you take that knee, they'll find something else to get you to be more submissive about, and to try and ground you in of saying that you're doing another thing wrong. So the analogy that I used was like, you take headshots out the way.
I thought that was coming. Yeah.
Saying, "Try, you've got to have the bang rule." Then they say that you say, "Yeah, actually, you're right. The bang rule's good." Then I'll turn around and say, "It's got to be a certain MED." And by the time that you've taken that knee in airsoft, they have filtered out all of the aspects of the game that the majority of people accept and love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think you've hit it on the. I think that's probably my thoughts on it. That as soon as you start yielding to people who are moaning about things that are within the rules of the game, as you say, the enforcing the bang rule. So if you're within 2 meters, you have to say bang. Once you start enforcing that, then because people are complaining, then they complain about something else, and site owners feel that they have to yield to people who are complaining, and then you get more and more rules. So, example, the big one you just touched on is the headshot thing, where there is a group of people who seem to want to ban deliberate headshots, or what they seem to think are deliberate headshots. And once you yield to those people, what does the site do? The site goes, okay, we're going to ban deliberate headshots. What happens then on game day? Someone gets flicked in the face. What do? If they're one of the people who have tried to bring that rule into place, they complain they've been hit in the face.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
Then what happens? Well, the marshals go, we'll have a word with them. Then they have to speak to the person. You've shot someone in the face. Right, okay, well, I was 75 meters away. There's a 30-mile-an-hour wind blowing. Okay, fine. But then it happens again and again until then someone like myself posts a video with someone getting flicked in the face, and then the pressure get built on the sites, and the sites start banning people who post videos of headshots because it puts airsoft in a bad light, or it broke our rules of no deliberate headshots, and it snowballs. And then that's
just before we get into this, guys, because Josh was going, so we'll speak soon, Josh. Thanks for joining us.
Good to meet you, Josh.
Andrew, James.
Briefly, he's managed to do a full live stream this time. He's normally lasts about 5 minutes before he got a new webcam. Bless him.
The last episode he was hospitalised, and obviously now he's needs some surgery of some description as a result of it. So he's a soldier to the end. Love you to bits, bro. So.
Catch you later, Josh.
Cheers, guys. Have a good night.
Nice gumball.
One of the things that's profoundly hit me about this, James, though, is some of your recent Instagram posts, you're mirroring a lot of the stuff that is happening in airsoft. And I don't want to turn this into a political debate, but you're mirroring a lot of stuff that's happening in airsoft. And it's actually parallel to a lot of things that are happening in societal culture, like cancel culture. You talk about Marxism, and I'm not a political historian. I don't quite understand the political, but you're actually seeing a synergy between bullshit that's happening in real life and then the same types of culture leaking into airsoft.
Yeah, we're going in hard tonight, aren't we? Hard and fast.
What I said though,
so
do you think sometimes the marshals just don't have the spine to turn around to a player and go, "Stop being a pansy"?
Yep.
You've been in the face.
Did you notice in the video I posted from the Gangster City event where there was a dead player standing there, and his teammates were using him as cover? So I was shooting at his teammates, and he was complaining, and the marshals were laughing and said, "Mate, you're in the way. Get out the way." And I was saying, "Get out the way." That's how to marshal an event. Yeah. Where you say to the people, "You stop fucking moaning, get out the way, and play the game."
I saw it from the side of my team as well. It got to the point, and I said this on the first live shoot, it was pissing me off because it's like, "Oh, did you hear Kicking Mustang? Did you hear Kicking Mustang like slaughtered a child in front of a load of nuns?" And it's like, guys, just shut the fuck up. I don't care. He's a player at this event just like everyone else. Just because he's got a video camera doesn't mean you got to go try and hunt him down or come up with some. The stories that I was hearing, I was just like, chaps, please.
What stories did you hear? What stories?
Oh, honestly, mate, it was just such made up bullshit. I honestly can't remember now, and it's going to annoy me.
Surely some of them must have been true. Some of them must have been true.
Kicking Mustang, egg my hamster.
I've not done that. No.
It was like, he's left sight because he couldn't use his ghillie suit, and then it was, oh no, it wasn't that. He left sight because he was wearing the wrong shade of black, and he couldn't be sneaky in the bushes. And it was like, what are you even saying? Are you even thinking about what you're saying before he's coming out your mouth? You take him like a little Chinese whisper, and you spinning
people
it in
moaning. Yeah, people moaning for the sake of it.
But
And there was guys on our team doing it. I said, guys, look, if anyone mentions Kicking Mustang did this or that one more time, I said, you can go play with another group. I said, because we're here to have a game. We're
I
not
had
here
fun at that event. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it while I was there.
Exactly.
Well, to be honest, it was the reason I commented on the stream. It was the first time I'd ever seen you play outside of being a sniper, and I notoriously hate.
You had the creasy.
The crap out of me. But you took your MP9 or whatever it was, and you literally laced the whole Milsim team because they were standing like ducks. And I made the comments, listen, you guys went out there dressed all ready for trick and treat, but you got no fucking sweets. And you all stood in a row waiting to get knocked over. And I was like, whether you like Kicking Mustang or not, the guys.
My favourite bit from that video is when you was putting the tag grenades in the doors, which just reiterate one more time for those that are probably just
no booby traps. No booby traps.
All they said is don't use tripwires and don't
exactly
put TRMRs on top of like door frames and stuff, which nobody did.
What they said.
It was
and by the way, I've said it. I said in the video. I still, if you want to talk about that a little bit, I don't blame the Marshall team at all. He was just under pressure. It wasn't his fault. It was just under pressure.
What made me crack up, and I spat my tea out watching it. I was stood there watching it, and you were discussing it with the Marshal, and you were like having a bit of like a discussion with him. You're like, okay, and I won't do it anymore. But the grenades that you'd set like 15 minutes ago,
the whole building was rigged. There were grenades everywhere in there. And there was a big sign. Did you see the big sign on the outside of the building saying "Warning: Explosives" or "Dangerous Building, Stay Out" or something? There was a sign on the outside that said that.
Oh well, someone could be crawling, clearing rooms on their stomach. Fuck off, mate.
That wasn't. That was kind of funny. Maybe I shouldn't have included that in the video because I just think he was under pressure. It wasn't his fault, and it's a lot of people sent some flack his way, but it wasn't a Marshall's fault. He was under pressure. That's all. Do
you think the Marshals sometimes just want to keep the peace to everybody and they don't want to confront? Because you know, if that was me, a team of ISAF guys have just burst into a building, clearing rooms, they're getting duped by a tag grenade that's been left by the door. I'd be like, guys, you're just being shit. You know.
But that goes back to once you bend one knee, they will demand two, and then they'll demand your head.
Yeah,
the Marshals and an auger like West Midlands do not yield. They have their rules set, and this is really unusual for a West Midlands event I've ever been to. I haven't been to that was my first Gangster City, but I've never had any kind of rule confusion like that at West Midlands. It's straight down the line, and there's never any problems before.
That Gangster City was completely different to the normal Gangster Cities because I've done every event, and that one was just completely. I think it was because of the sign. You weren't allowed to do this with pyro. They were bringing up all these rules, and I think some of the marshals probably got the rules wrong as well.
But, it's easily done. And also the other thing that's really important is that there was a lot of people at that event, and the event almost didn't go ahead. So 48 hours before that event started, Paul hadn't been sure it was going to go ahead. They got the go ahead, and then they're planning it with how many people there? 250, something. I don't know, something like that. It's a lot of people, right? They have to. Not only are you having to have a set of rules that are slightly different to their. Oh, how have I been cut off? No, slightly different to their normal rules. You then got to have all the marshals have got to be briefed on it. Then all the players have got to be briefed, and all the players were briefed in different areas of the field because they were separated. And then the marshal team are expected to be health and safety people as well, and keeping an eye on all these COVID restrictions. So, of course, the chance of something a little discrepancy like that happening was always going to be there, and they're under a lot of pressure. So, no way do I want people to think there was something wrong with that event. I know there has been a bit of bickering in the background and a bit of. I don't get involved in it. I don't see it in the groups, but I've heard from some people bickering and going on about it.
The only thing that I saw that was wrong with that event was some of the teams were getting disorganised. Perhaps things weren't going their way, and they were blaming this, that, and the other. But for the most part,
it was a difficult field, though, wasn't it? It was a difficult field to play because there were buildings you weren't allowed to shoot out of the windows. No. And there are two doors into and out building. It was a clusterfuck in places, but that wasn't anything to do with the organizer. It was just the layout of the field.
I think any issues that were at that event were down to individuals just moaning because they'd been like absolutely steamrolled, or there was people hiding like objectives. There was a lot of like rumors going around, but I think for the most part, the people that sort of sat there and went, I don't care. We're just going to go out and shoot people, get in a firefight, and have some fun. Actually had a really good event. So I hope they can get the Gangster City event back at Swinnerton at some point, because it's just a completely different game.
Now, I wasn't a huge fan of the field it was played at. I thought there were some cool areas, but
Sparta.
Sparta. And I thought the buildings were good once you were in them, but once you're in them, you couldn't shoot out of them. So, and there was only like 2 doors into them. And I found it a bit, it was a frustrating field to play at, I found.
Let me just ask a quick question then. Do you, in Airsoft, do you think there is a market for invite-only extreme games, you know, where you know what you're signing up to, you know exactly the tonality of the game, it is going to be pretty ruthless. It's not one shot, one kill. It is, let's say, hardcore mode. Do you think there is a market for that, like a fight club for Airsoft type stuff?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. I don't know the numbers. I don't know how many people would turn up for it. I don't know.
We had a conversation about would you play with simunition? You know?
Yeah.
Like,
too right. Yeah, I mean, when in America, when I went to that milsim last year in America, I think the limit was for AEGs was 1.7 joules measured on 0.3s.
What?
And so, 1.7 joules. That was semi-auto with no MER. And then they had a really cool rule at that milsim where there was no full. You had you had assault class, which was semi-auto at 1.7 joules measured on their 0.3s at chrono. Mm-hmm. So I was using an HPA M4 at 1.7 joules, but I had 0.48s in it. Okay, you can use your imagination on that one. Mm-hmm. But that's their rules. So you play within the rules. Then they've got another rules for full auto SMGs, 1 joule, but it's full auto, and you can use that in the buildings. And that made if you saw an SMG squad moving towards a building, you were like, "Shit, this is going to get nasty here." Because the difference between having a semi-auto long assault rifle, it's got to be an assault rifle, and it's got to be and then the LMGs have to be proper LMGs with the big 7.62 caliber.
With the SMG guys, they could burst into a building full auto, just
pre-firing, go around the corners, fill rooms, and it was
It's probably what you would use an SMG for, isn't it? Really,
and it really gave a real good reason to have full auto guns.
Do you think airsoft sites, particularly in the UK, because as you're saying, it's definitely different in the US, it's definitely different in Eastern Europe. But do you think that airsoft sites need to start taking responsibility of explaining what the tonality is for the site is before you turn up? Because it's like a pub, isn't it? Like you can go to a pub and it's like, don't bring your kids. We're watching the football. There's going to be loads of screaming.
Kicking Mustang is banned. Kicking Mustang is banned, etc.
Yeah. But then on the flip side, it's like expect swearing, expect drinking till 2 o'clock in the morning, expect vocal chants from football squads. Do you think actually airsoft sites need to stop being but have more transparency in what type of game that they're actually playing? Or do you think you're going to get the same shit, or not you personally, but anybody is going to get the same shit when they want to play a particular game at an airsoft site and it's not aligned with the values of the site itself?
Yeah, it's a nice idea, isn't it? But
utopian airsoft.
It's a nice idea, mate. Yeah, I don't disagree, but I don't really have a strong opinion. You know, is a field gonna have a beginner's day? And people, I don't know. I don't have a strong opinion on that. I think it's a nice idea, but I don't know whether there's a market for it.
Yeah, I think when we've talked on Instagram, what I'm getting at is I might have a utopian ideal about airsoft in that every airsofter has got a place to go. Where you've actually probably got the reality of it which is you're going to go to some games, you're not breaking any laws, you're not breaking any site laws, but people are still complaining about your gameplay. So what difference does it make where you play?
Yeah, look, I love airsoft. Right? I absolutely love playing airsoft. I couldn't do what I do if I didn't love it. I also love making movies. I love making exciting, entertaining movies that are fun to watch. I'm as passionate about that side of it as I am from playing airsoft. Sometimes if I'm not feeling particularly enthused about playing airsoft, I will still think, no, I'm going to go because I need that footage to make a video. Mm-hmm. So I'm always at the back of my mind. I've got these two prongs to my passion. So I personally don't care whether it's a hardcore milsim or whether it's just. I'll come to that question in a minute. Actually, I don't care if it's a hardcore milsim and I'm playing with the best players you could imagine, or whether it's playing against skirmishers and kids. And no, kids can be. This is the thing, right? Thing about airsoft. You got a kid with a high cap and a rental gun, they can be just as sneaky as anyone else. And a full auto AEG, you can end up getting laced up by those guys. You know, it's still good fun. And rentals do funny shit. And sometimes you get funny shit happen because they're rentals, and it makes a fun video. So I don't care which I'm playing at. I enjoy all kinds of airsoft. I just love the game, and I love making movies. So someone popped up. What was that comment? Someone posted a video about me if I don't go for so many headshots. I don't know who that is. It says Facebook user.
Andy, you'll have to check that one.
Surely if you didn't shoot people in the head all the time, you wouldn't get shit for shooting people in the head.
Shooting people in the head all the time.
Okay. I don't know who that is. What I'd like to ask this person to do is to go back through all of my videos over the last, just take a small number of them over the last 6 months. You'll probably have 24 videos. Go over my last 24 videos and tell me how many, actually do the maths and add up how many headshots I hit when there is the full body on display. And then come back to me on that one, please.
You know what gets me about this, though? And people will probably say, "Oh, you know, you come into the defence of James because you know of him and you speak to him all the time," which we do speak occasionally. And I've said this time and time again: every inch of your body's in play. So
and that's the other thing. Yeah, that's the other thing. And so what? Like, so what if someone gets hit in the head with a single BB? So what?
People are going to complain to you if you started shooting people in the hand all the time. The hand.
So what?
Fucking hurts.
I don't buy into this.
You obviously
buy into the anti-headshot thing. There's a number of different levels to this whole argument. The first most, which I think is the most absurd argument, is headshots are dangerous and you're going to have someone's eye out or you're going to injure somebody. Okay. At the very beginning of this argument, there is that, which is, so at this point, do you ban headshots? The same people will tend to say, well, no, if it's accidental, it's okay. I say, no, it's not okay. Headshots are never okay if they're dangerous. Can someone please prove to me that headshots are dangerous? I will quit airsoft. I'll be gone. I won't play. That's the end of the argument.
Every player gets the same briefing. We fully recommend full face protection. If you don't wear full face protection, it's on you. If you're not wearing a lower mesh face mask, and I've done it, I've not worn lower mesh face. I've been shot I've had my nose popped, as we spoke about earlier. And you know what? The first thing I did, I walked back to my gear and put my mesh mask on. It's as simple as that. I didn't curse the guy out. I didn't have a fight.
I think there's a deeper edge to this, and James is. One's called James, the other's called James. I don't want to call you Kicking Mustang. That's like right. So, James K.
You can call me Stang, or call me Stang. Nico calls me Stang.
I'm alright with that. I think people are actually jealous of your success. I think they're fixating on headshots, and what they are is actually fundamentally jealous that you're potentially making a great living of something that you love. And so if you look at this headshot argument, which is fundamentally bullshit, if you have to proportionalize it and say out of 100 people, 20% are genuinely concerned about headshots and the other 80% are actually jealous of what the fuck I'm doing, how would you proportionalize that in terms of the community?
The whole headshot thing is
that's where this argument meanders off to. You could go down that. You could go down that path. I don't know whether you saw it. I posted a video on Instagram. I didn't put it in my. I don't think it's on one of my videos. It might be, but I don't think it is on YouTube. I put it on Instagram, and there's a young lad at Phoenix Airsoft. And by the way, Phoenix Airsoft, if anyone's not been there, they've just got a very solid attitude down there. Not just the marshals, but the player base. It's got this old school feel about it. Like I'm there to be shot, and I'm there to shoot people. We talked about this
earlier on. It's a working man's airsoft club.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't matter. Like there's so many different. Like we could end up talking for hours. Like if we don't touch on a number of subjects we want to touch on tonight, I'm happy to come back and chat to you boys another date, because I know it's late. But there's a video I posted on Instagram, and I was behind this like fallen tree thing, and I can't remember what the game was. But there's this young lad there, and he's there every week. And sometimes he's just running around in his tracksuit and his iPro, and sometimes just using a pistol, just running around, getting stuck into the game. He's there peeking this cover. He gets whacked by a sniper, and he goes under his hat, under his glasses, smacks him in the forehead, and he's like, "Ah!" And you hear him. It must have really, really stung. He didn't say a word. He just went, "Medic!" And he stood there, and he got medics. And as soon as his medic was done, he go, right, there's a sniper. He's over there. This lad's 12. And he looked at me and he goes, that's one of your mates in the ghillie, innit? And I go, where is he? He goes, over there. And he goes, well, I'm not going to peek anymore. I don't want to get whacked in the head again. I'm going to go around this way.
Yeah.
Fucking 10 out of 10. That for me, as a 12-year-old kid, showing what this faction within the UK airsoft community is doing wrong. And it's embarrassing. I find it embarrassing. And it's not just me. It's everyone from outside of the UK looking in at this faction within the UK community. I can't believe headshots are even a thing anymore. I can't believe it.
Have you actually had an educated argument with someone saying about headshots that's actually, give a proper good argument for the fact that you shouldn't make headshots? Because we'll probably see people in the Arabs page, it's a rants and bants page. They will try and call you out. 100% they will, because that's the sort of ethos of the group. But equally, if that person's going to say, well, I don't agree with headshots, well, why don't you agree with headshots? And then you don't get anything else.
Yeah, they can't.
Bad. And that's
some people say they're dangerous. I say, prove to me that they are dangerous. And I'm not talking about a welt on your cheek or losing a tooth. I'm talking about dangerous, like serious injury. If you can prove to me that they're dangerous, I'll quit airsoft. I'm gone. I don't want to be part of anything that is dangerous like that.
If airsoft headshots are so dangerous, why aren't we all walking around with motorcycle helmets on?
Precisely. I'm a proponent.
Do you know what I mean?
Those people who wear the shooting goggles, those shooting goggles, the whatever those military issue ones are, the sawfly ones. And you see guys, and often these are the guys who are moaning about the headshots. You look at them in the safe zone, they're standing there. You can see down the side of the glasses straight to their eyeball. That's the problem, not the fact that the headshot's taking place. Wear proper face protection and stop moaning.
I want to reel something back a little bit, because one of the things I picked up on one of your comments is that one of your biggest inspirations is actually nothing to do with airsoft or the game. One of your biggest inspirations is Gary Vaynerchuk.
Yeah,
and one of the things that Gary Vaynerchuk has always mentioned is just make quality content. Don't worry about the negative people. Don't worry about the haters and all this stuff. But keep pumping out the content. And then talking to you on Instagram and talking to you here, there's a different side of you, which I think people are misunderstanding. There's actually somebody who really gives a shit about the game, but then there's somebody who actually understands what quality content is. And you don't want to be apologetic for some of the content that you're making, but you're fully aware that some of the content that you're putting out there could be inflammatory. But do you think you put it out there because you know the content's quality, or do you put it out there as maybe a
inflammatory? How inflammatory? There's so many different levels to this whole thing about the whole headshots and content creation and putting out good content and exciting content and content that's got traction. Let's take that last year. Believe it or not, I'm trying to do an end of year video this year. Part of it is last year. The 2019, I put a headshot compilation in it. It was quite a controversial thing. Let's have a look at this year's headshots. Right, I'll go and find the headshots. I can't find them. They're not in there. I'm really struggling to do a headshot compilation this year because there's not that many good headshots from this last year. Not because I don't go for headshots, whether I do or don't. There just aren't that many. Probably the reason why this whole headshot controversy has really taken off is because of that 2019 headshot compilation video, and some of those headshots were peaches, weren't they? Absolute peaches. And that video has over 60 million views worldwide on YouTube and Facebook combined. That's over 60 million people have seen that video. So that
would you agree with?
Sorry to interrupt, but one of the things you've also said to me, and it's a comment which has struck. I like undeniable logic, whether I like the person or not. And there's a comment that you've also said, which is the market decides. So do you think that the volume of interest in the headshots and the not say the controversial side of things, but the exempling of what can happen in airsoft, do you think actually the market wants to see the savagery? Do you think the market wants to see the high impact airsoft game that it can be?
Clearly it does. You wouldn't have 511,000 subscribers if people didn't want to see it, would you? No, of course. But I dramatize. I make what I do dramatic. I don't play any different to how I did 5 or 10 years ago. I'm probably not as good a player now as I was 5 years ago.
because these days I tend, when I'm at the game field now, I have one eye on making movies. So I'm doing things in the field that perhaps aren't to my benefit as a player, but they're to my benefit as a filmmaker. But I'm turning what I do into a dramatic product and a dramatic piece of content to reach as many people as possible. So does the market want it? Well, I see what works in my videos, and I enjoy making those videos. So that's
I've just realised who you are. You're the Quentin Tarantino of airsoft. You want that kind of like heavy impact, drop it raw, leave people questioning whether it's right or wrong. And then the majority of people, when they see Pulp Fiction and Reservoir Dogs, thinking that's brutal, but it's still cool as anything. So you want that impact. You know, it's actually evidence of the fact that you're not this terrible person that everybody thinks you are.
Yes.
What you're actually doing is going, this is how to create impactful content. You know, you've touched upon something here. You use the word film and movie. Do you know what I mean? So it's not like you sat down there trying to create a controversial moment to stir shit. You're sat there turning around and saying, how can I make this impactful and mean something, you know, in 10 minutes or 20 minutes? Yeah,
the funny thing is about when I'm making films, sometimes they are how the game day happened. A good example of that is I've done a video that's titled 2 versus 50 when myself and Nico went to Belgium. That's a 10-minute video, and that was recorded in 20 minutes, the first 20 minutes of the Saturday. We literally went in there and killed 50 people in 20 minutes. And that video was that was the easiest video I've ever edited. That was as close to what really happened on that game as I've ever put out in a video, I think, apart from maybe the US Milsim videos. But other videos, sometimes, and some people have noticed sometimes someone goes, hang on a minute, he shot red and he shot blue. Sometimes my videos could have been done over 2 days or in 2 different games. And I'm using my content that I've created to make an exciting piece of entertainment.
There's a legit question here. Aidan Collier, and he's on there. Do you create your headshots for the good-looking ones? Also, do you think that this is why people focus on the headshots because they are film worthy?
Well, I'm not. When he says create, do you curate? Do you mean I'm picking them out and I slow them down? If anyone who's sniped, anyone who's used a sniper and they fire any experienced airsoft knows, you fire one BB, they do not fire like lasers, as Swamp Sniper calls them. They fly and they go off here, they go off there. Once you get past 30 meters, they're all over the place. Really, even the most. Any slight deviation, a little bit of wind, they could hit anything on the way, and they go all over the place. But when I hit a headshot, I will always slow it down a little bit. I'll always zoom in a bit. I'll always move it to the center. I'll always put the crosshairs exactly where the BB hits, and because it looks cool as fuck. And that's it.
I think that's what he meant. You, like you say, you're making a story out of multiple shots, out of multiple times you've perhaps been to this field. It's entertainment at the end of the day, isn't it? You want to capture people's time, so they're going to be clicking on the video, they're going to be watching views, watch time. YouTube takes all that into consideration. And I think if you're telling a story like that and you've got some kind of narrative and something to make it a little bit more interesting. Like if you go onto a skirmish site and you just, shoot people for 10 minutes, it's not really, is that what separates you from a lot of the YouTubers that capture footage, because you can tell a story and you can edit their videos to sort of go in a certain way?
Yeah, story's everything, mate. Story's everything. Everything. You've got to grab these days, I think you probably have around 2 to 3 seconds to hold people's attention. And you've got 2 to 3 seconds to grab their attention. If you don't get it in the first 3 seconds, that's it, they're gone. We're all flicking through our phones with our thumbs, scrolling. If the thumbnail doesn't grab your attention, if the title doesn't grab your attention, like Jet Desert Fox today was saying, or yesterday, he posted on his Instagram that Novridge should not be using the word deadly or lethal or something, lethal sniper. And he posted that he thought Novridge was a clown for using the word deadly on his title, which I think is just like it's crazy to even start trying that. Someone is trying, the people, not just Jet Desert Fox, other people, is a movement within the community of people trying to police what they call it clickbait, and they say, oh, that's clickbait, I hate clickbait. Yeah, I like his videos, but fucking clickbait, I'll never watch them because of his clickbait.
Surely it's clickbait if you've put something in the thumbnail, it doesn't actually happen.
Yeah. I think the word clickbait has now become meaning something. It's evolved into something that it used to be fake. So it used to be titties, or like my top 5 headshots from 2019 video. That's clickbait because it's got the girl on the title. No girl was shot, so you could say that's clickbait because there's a girl with a bleeding head.
Where if you're saying headshot and in the video you shoot someone in the head and it's got the thumbnail there and everything, it's not clickbait.
Going back to it, what you've done, you've understood as a good filmmaker or movie maker would, which is understood your audience, and what you've clued onto there is instant gratification and a lack of attention span. So I've asked you how old you are and you've not told me. So I'm 42, but I understand.
Youngling.
I make music part time. I can't write a 10-minute long progressive house track because people are asleep after a minute and a half. But if I make a banging drop after 30 seconds, people are clued into the drop. So what you're saying is, unapologetically, I'm doing this style of filmmaking because this is the one which is proven to have the biggest impact to the larger audience. You're not trying to make the Irishman of airsoft. What you're trying to make is the Fast and Furious. Do you know what I mean? So maybe you want to drift into doing the Irishman of airsoft.
Yeah, Fast and Furious. They do not have any responsibility to the drifting scene.
Yeah,
that's a good. This is what we touched on earlier on, actually, because I've realised I'm calling myself out here. But I turn around and says, "Oh well, James should be like an ambassador to airsoft." And the thing is, it's like, well, why should I be an ambassador to airsoft? I represent myself and what I'm doing. Quentin Tarantino is not an ambassador to the movie industry. Quentin Tarantino is making Quentin Tarantino films.
Yeah.
But likewise, you're turning around and saying, no, I'm not going to be the bastion of everything that's good and happy and utopian in airsoft. Yeah. I'm going to do what the fuck I'm doing because it works for me and people like it. Why would Quentin Tarantino start a writing movie for Disney? It's never going to happen.
Yeah, I don't feel I'm an ambassador. I don't feel I have any responsibility to anybody apart from myself. I don't feel when I'm making movies.
Like these ICS captain ambassadors. It's not like you're representing someone else's business. Or something.
If a field wants to make me an ambassador, make me a monetary offer, and I'll consider doing it as a job. But nobody is paying me to be an ambassador of anything. There you go, Phoenix. Phoenix. I love Phoenix. I love the way they run the site. I love the player base. I love the field. I think it's a fantastic field. It's got something for everybody. I'm always happy to support anybody doing cool shit within the airsoft community or do anything in life. Like I'm super happy to help anybody because I know what work goes into making videos. I know how much effort and time making a good video. It's not something that just happens. Like someone like people don't understand what Silo puts into his videos. There's a reason he doesn't just record, chop it up and throw it up on YouTube and hey presto, he's making $100,000 a month out of playing airsoft. Like that doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen just a few hours. It takes days to put one of those videos together and days of preparation before he goes to the game. And someone like him deserves the success he has. And I'm happy to say that about him. And I'm happy to support a smaller content creator like, I don't know, like in the UK, Heartless. He doesn't put out as many videos as I'd like to see because I enjoy his content, but he's a very good filmmaker.
Jay Hillier.
That's it, yeah. He's a very good filmmaker and he makes some very cool content. And I'm super happy to support people like that. And so although I don't feel an ambassador, I'm super happy to help people. I'm super happy to meet people on the field and help young people or help people with ghillie crafting. I put the Sniper Ops group together and I maintain that. That's just what I'm like. It's just in me that I do that sort of thing. But I don't feel a responsibility as an ambassador. No one voted me in, and who the fuck makes these rules up anyway? When you hit a certain number of subscribers, you have to change your behaviour because
I don't think that is no. Like this guy said, like you do have a positive impact as well. Like this says, Mustang got me into airsoft. I wouldn't have spent money and got involved if not for his videos. So it's kind of like it's an influence at the end of the day, isn't it? It's like you're people are coming across your content, they're seeing how much fun you're having shooting people in the woods, and they're like, oh, you know what, I'm gonna go give that a try.
Well, I don't want to touch possibly here, James, though, because we in the last stream, like, I turned around and said there was like different degrees of YouTube, and I said there was an influencer, there was an entrepreneur, and I can't remember the other aspect of it was.
Oh, I saw you use some funny names, Contrapreneur or something. What were you
I'll
calling?
tell you what, you watch Gary Vaynerchuk, and when you were watching Gary Vaynerchuk, do you ever remember a guy called Mike Winnett, who was
Don't know
also?
Mike Winnett.
Do you know him, or do you know of him?
No, I don't know
I'll
Mike
link
Winnett.
you up on YouTube. He does this thing. He does this thing called the Contrapreneur, and what he does, he calls out the likes of who's the 10x guy, not Gary Vaynerchuk, but he's the guy who says you can 10x your lifestyle, and he's done some interviews with Gary Vaynerchuk, and what he said was, in the digital world, in the influencing world, you get entrepreneurs who are trying to say that they're promoting something that they're not, and it's unrealistic. Mm-hmm. One of the things from this conversation I've realised is actually you're a content creator, you're not an influencer, and then 80% of you is content creation, and then 20% of you is entrepreneur because you're selling KMCS suits, you know. So actually, the responsibility of saying that you're an influencer is probably a wrong badge to put on you, because you're creating content. You don't care whether it influences people. You're just doing it for the love of it. Yeah,
I don't care about influencing people. Maybe this is what surprises some people when I do things like comment. Like I don't have any beef with Jet Desert Fox at all, but I have an opinion. Like you guys, you do your thing in the Arab group. And I've never been in there. I left Facebook groups, I don't know, beginning of 2017 or something. I don't go in them. I don't like them. I think they are a very bad influence on the UK airsoft scene and community in general. Not just airsoft, but community in general.
Yeah.
But my point is, net. What I'm trying to say is, I have an opinion, and I enjoy expressing my opinion, so I will sometimes do that, and I don't have any beef with Jet at all, but if he's done something that I don't agree with, or I have an opinion on, or I think perhaps other content creators should perhaps be cautious, such as going to do interviews with Vice magazine. Fucking hell, what? Like, I might be wrong. Hold
tight. James, do you know about this on Vice magazine, the shit that they've put out?
No.
Not what? You, James, as in James.
Oh, James Parker.
We had a conversation.
Basically, fill him in. So basically, Vice, huge.
Do you know Vice magazine, James? Yeah. So they used to be quite respectable, and they have done some good. They have done some very good pieces of journalism in the past, but essentially they have become a far left opinion piece media organization, and they push like anti-gun laws. They are very anti-Trump. Now, whether you like them or not, they still have this very anti-Trump leaning. They have, which I don't have a strong opinion on Trump or not. I think he's a funny character, but they have this anti-Trump thing. They have they are very pro-transgender and all 638 different genders, and they're all about. I put a bunch of their sort of articles on my Instagram. The point is, they misrepresent. They did a piece on World War II reenacting in the UK. I think it was end of 2017, and they made them out to look like neo-Nazis. Basically, these guys are, they're. So you think it's fun to be dressing up as genocidal maniacs in the wood? Very good, ha ha, you lunatics.
But
basically,
they also, there's another tier to it. They did that whole thing about airsoft manufacturers aligning themselves with real steel manufacturers.
Yes, there's that as well. Yep.
Which was encouraging kids in America to get BB guns, which was ultimately resulted in their death. And they now, I might be wrong, but it's a very dangerous game to be going and inviting Vice to come and do interviews and record what goes on at airsoft fields. It's a really dangerous thing to be doing. And at the same time, he's telling Novridge not to use words like deadly in his titles because it gives airsoft a bad reputation while he's inviting Vice along. So I have an opinion on that, and it's not good. It's not a good idea. I might be wrong, but let me just hone in on something there, though, because I understand what your feeling is on Facebook groups, and Arabs is very small. But however, if somebody like within the UK airsoft community, which has got 30,000 followers, if they were starting to do their own media aspect of it, maybe I don't know, maybe Will Greenwood is the Joe Rogan of airsoft, and Will should be doing what I'm doing, and then talking about airsoft in the reality rather than relying on somebody like Vice.
You don't need
be
Vice.
talking
We
about
don't
their
need
narrative.
Vice as a community. Like, I am
was a
part of the airsoft community. Us as a community, I don't think we need Vice magazine or the Daily Mail or anyone to do pieces on us. Like, you've got you've got people. Look at the content that Novridge is putting out. Look, podcasts. Like, if we want to speak to people outside of the airsoft community or get other people interested, we could, but we have such reach that we don't need. I don't think we need to be inviting in people who have the ability to twist reality to suit their narrative of anti-gun or anti-airsoft or yeah. I don't
Okay,
know.
so is this part of your motivation for having these kind of conversations? Because you could be at your hotel room having your beer, getting ready for playing airsoft, but instead you're talking to me. I'm a bit of a gobshite in airsoft, and then you'll probably go onto other forums, and then you're having a very, very intellectual debate about the airsoft community. So part of you is make high extreme content, which is impactful, and the other part of you is let's have a cheese stroke and a real debate about airsoft.
Yeah, no, good point, mate. No, good point. I think people could very easily point, as people do, they could point the finger at me and say, they try to say I give airsoft a bad reputation, or I dramatize it or make it more dramatic than it perhaps should be, and I don't represent airsoft truthfully. Like, some of my videos aren't. This is what's so interesting about I think is interesting about my videos is the stuff that happens in my videos really happened, but they are edited and they are dramatized, and it's got this there is a twist on it. So that's interesting, but people could accuse me of not being a true representation of what happens on a game day or what is involved.
But if you're in the rules of the game, why would you not be a true interpretation of what's going on in the field?
Well, yeah,
no, fair. No, this is the kind of this is the interesting thing, isn't it? Because it really does happen. But I do dramatize my videos, and I do make them dramatic.
Here's another analogy, though. Do football fans moan about match of the day? Do they turn around and go, "Oh, that bullshit's not happening because it's 15 or 10 minutes of what happened in the 90 minutes"? They don't.
Yeah, that's a great point. This is something like this thing about people. One of this headshot thing. There's so many different levels to it. One of the levels is that people say it gives airsoft a bad reputation. You shouldn't be doing airsoft because it encourages headshots, or whether that should or shouldn't. That's another debate. But by promoting headshots or promoting dramatic things or promoting,
I honestly don't
drama. Like, if drama happens, whether that's people moaning or people kicking off about getting shot,
exactly.
and then,
but just honing on that, in match of the day, they'll show the goals, but they'll show people, they'll show the ref
fouls, the fights, exactly.
Exactly.
No, people don't say that gives football a bad reputation or match of the day should cut it out. They don't do that
because they want to see it. It's part of the drama. It's part of the excitement. It's part of the buzz. It's part of it's the content. You can't edit out the fight between the ref, because in actual fact, match of the day does one of two things. You make content and it brings up two questions: is that right or is that wrong? And then people can piss off into the Facebook groups and have that conversation amongst themselves. And some people, I actually genuinely think, really, there's like this football mindset about airsoft influencers, celebrities, whatever you want to call it. It's like some people will love Kelly and not like you. Some people will like you and not like Kelly. And there is almost like a football fanzine following it, where it's not based on any substance or reality. It's based on preference and opinion and choice. But actually, like, if you look at the content that people are making and you liken it to match of the day, whether you like the content or not, it is the condensed reality of all of the gaps which
they're still consuming it. Still consume the content, don't they? They still consume the content. They have their fans of certain teams, or they enjoy certain players or how they play. But
even when they're losing, they still watch it because they moan about the ref and the decisions.
I see those kind of people. Excuse me. I see those kind of people as they're in the stands booing or cheering. I'm someone like Kelly who's putting content out on. If you're out there producing content, you're playing a. As I touched on, I've got the airsoft and I've got the content creation. I enjoy them both. I see them as very different. They're two different prongs of the same fork. But when I'm in that content creation, when people are saying, "Oh, I hate him, I love him," I don't but most people, I don't take what those people say to heart. Like if they, even the people are going, "Oh, you're amazing. You got me into airsoft," which I really appreciate. That's really means a lot. But it's not gonna. Those sort of comments don't keep me doing it. And the same way as people say he's a cunt, he should be banned. That doesn't stop me doing it. I hold both of those things in the same regard. They but I still.
Look at James's little face when you drop the C word. We get banned from YouTube for dropping the C word.
Oh, sorry.
It's fine. They'll just tell me like, "Oh, the improper language, ad limited," but it's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
Andy's said it about like 60 times in the last episode. So.
Oh, dear.
But I think
my point is, what drives me on to do what I do is I love playing airsoft. I love creating content. What those people say in the stands when they're booing or cheering the match of the day program, it doesn't affect me. I still take notice of them. I still get inspired, or if people are booing, I still go, yeah, I want to push on, and because I'm doing something right. There's a reaction there. So if trolls want to stop, if trolls really want me to stop playing airsoft, stop booing me. Stop poking me. They inspire me as much as the lovers do.
Dana White's just done an interview on Sky, and the woman in Sky went deep and talked about what is your true motivation, Dana, for doing UFC, in particular now during like this whole, to paraphrase, during COVID, during the period where people are saying that you should stop because of it's a spectator sport in arenas. Do the naysayers drive you forward? And he stopped the interviewer there and went, "No, that's absolutely it. The naysayers drive me more than the supporters."
Can't do something.
I've got a habit I've developed over the years that if I see trolling against me, or if somebody who thinks they're doing me a favor by showing me trolling, because I don't see this shit. I'm not in these groups. I don't see it. But sometimes people go, "Oh, James, have you seen this?" They send me a screenshot. I have developed a habit over the years. If I ever see anything like that, I then go out and I create a piece of content in response to it out of bad habits. So the more they hate on me, I just have a reaction to go and put out more stuff.
I think it's important here to separate the two, because this is not an Arab stream. This is James doing his thing. And what James has done kindly by allowing me on here is gone. There's an element of Arabs which I take what goes on in Arabs and I take a balanced perspective and going, some of you are right and some of you are wrong. Some of you are right based on your opinion and some of you are wrong based on fact. But then what James has done is been able to be turn and say, "Andy, that balanced perspective that you've got, I might have had an opinion on," forget about calling you James, on Kicking Mustang. And I'm thinking, have I got that right? And then so there'll be loads of comments in Arabs which turn around and say it's this, is that, the other. And there'll be equal amount of comments which turn around and say it's this, is that, the other. And I'm not a judgmental person. I have a wider perspective. If you know about Myers-Briggs profile, I come out as an ENFP. So I look at it and turn around and say, before I want to make that judgment on someone, I need to take the wider perspective. And that's rare for most people. They don't have that. And that's essentially what I look at, let's say, what you're doing, and turn around and saying, "Oh, well, and you banned me from your Facebook page because I did that whole, oh, well, you know what, if you could have taken a body shot, you took a headshot." But then I actually started having a different perspective on headshots on myself. And I was thinking, why am I getting annoyed by headshots? What's the simple solution to this? Keep your head under cover. And then it enhanced my game by having a different perspective, because I then started walking away from the games going, maybe the benefit of having a good airsoft game is if I have not been shot as many times as I normally do, because I was getting complacent. However, most people don't have that element of perspective in their life. They have straight judgmental, and it goes on to that judgmental stuff leads on to cancel culture. If I don't like something, I want to cancel it. And I'll do everything in my power to have a voice to remove that, and I'll shout as loud as I possibly can. I'm going to be honest with you, and people in Arrows won't want to hear me say this. Recent conversations that we've had has almost made me going, should I close Arabs? Because it was almost like, oh, is it an echo chamber of toxicity? However, the groups have, let's say if there's 100 people, there are 30 people that will never, ever change their mind if their life depended on it. And then there's another 30 people that go, well, let's have a look at another different point of view and consider it. And there will be another 30 people that turn around and go, oh my God, I never saw it like that. And I think that's the important thing about Facebook groups, about people having a difference of opinion, of going, well, you might as well challenge your own perspective, because eventually you might find that people win to common sense. And one of the things I've been drawn to our conversations, it's like, shit, the guy's talking common sense and undeniable logic. How can you actually talk against that? Do you know what I mean? And I think that's what people mostly fear, which is if somebody's got undeniable logic and common sense, unless you're a complete moron, how can you counter that argument?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my belief about Facebook groups, and I think moderation, the way they're moderated, is probably the problem. You can't, if you have a chamber where the loudest, most aggressive voices never cease, and they just carry on ranting, and they don't ever change, and there's not actually a real debate. It's just who can shout the loudest. The majority of the moderate majority, the very moderate majority, who generally keep quiet, they've either got a kind of morbid fascination, they stay there to watch it just out of morbid fascination, or they just piss off and leave, and they leave everyone arguing amongst themselves.
I'm in a lot of Facebook groups, and I'm involved in a lot of Facebook stuff because my business benefits from it. Basically, I think if I didn't have bespoke on social media, I would come off social media altogether, because, to be honest, most of the time it pisses me off. But that being said, I'm in a lot of airsoft groups, and I run a couple of airsoft groups. So I help run the Aries Striker page and obviously the AAPO1 page. Currently, I'm the only person moderating the AAPO1 page, and there is nothing on there that's like toxic or any type of that bad behaviour.
Because there's a purpose, because they've got a purpose to be there. It's a new, exciting platform, and they've all got a purpose to be there to find out how to make it better, how to make the platform better, and to improve the gun. So they've got a purpose to be there.
You go on to another group though that's like on a different platform going, and it's got like 15 moderators. The place is an absolute mess. It's just an absolute clusterfuck of people just being toxic, being horrible to each other. And I've never experienced in the groups that I help participate in, because I have a no tolerance policy to it. You be a dick. You just fuck off. We're here to talk about platform or this, that, and the other, and that's it. We don't want to hear the rest of it.
Facebook groups is something I left, as I said, back in 2017. I think it was early 2017. I've got my opinion on them. I run the Sniper Ops group. We've got very strict rules in there. I think the rules are good. A lot of the rules in the Sniper Ops group are based on the Gary Vaynerchuk playbook. And the biggest one is probably 51-49. For every member's got to give 51%, at least 51%. So what that means is you can't just be a member there and just spam sales ads for BBs. If you're there in there and you're just there to post sales ads for BBs, you're going to get removed. You have to contribute. It doesn't mean you can still sit there and watch and take in and learn. But if you post, at least 51% of your posts have to be positive, informative content or contributing to the community in some way. And you know your intent. You know what you're trying to do there. If you're sharing a link to your YouTube video, you know what your intent is. You're trying to hack the attention. Anyone who's only a member of a YouTube or of a Facebook group and all they do is post links to their YouTube.
Off you go.
Anyway,
that's my view
on the Gary V thing. Separate thing though. Gary V's free content is amazing. It's inspirational. Some people wake up as an entrepreneur and they're buying into Gary V. And this is just totally outside of airsoft. When you pay for Gary V, when you pay your $5-6 grand to go and see one of his talks, do you have a separation in between Gary V, which is inspirational, you take motivation, inspiration, knowledge, or do you see a value of paying $5 grand to learn about Gary V?
No. Right, so anyone who doesn't, Gary Vaynerchuk inspired me to start Kicking Mustang in 2016.
Really, that's quite a strong comment. That is.
Yeah, no, that's what it was. We should probably do another, if you're interested. That is, we could probably do another podcast about where my mindset came from. And I was doing what I'm doing with Kicking Mustang. Like the Kicking Mustang YouTube channel was started in 2008.
Yeah.
And I was doing stuff back then around music, clubbing, and financial markets based around social media, or before social media was even a thing. I was doing, it's probably another subject we should probably talk about on another show. But Gary Vaynerchuk basically gave me the kick up my backside to use what I'd already learned over a number of years to then roll it into airsoft and to create content about my passion. And anyone who doesn't know about Gary Vaynerchuk, he's an entrepreneur from America who he shares a lot of probably 99% of his stuff is free on the internet. And the 5,000, you're talking about these people paying $5,000 to go and see his shows. The only people, if you're paying $5,000 to go and see a Gary Vee show, that's probably because he's been paid a lot of money and you're paying an organizer and he is a headline act. And
winning
that is,
there's an organizer which really goes to town on how much you're paying to turn up to it. Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, somebody else. And
there's nothing you couldn't learn for free on the internet that you could not, that you would learn from paying $5,000. You could get very bespoke. You could pay. I think Gary Vaynerchuk charges $10,000 for a deep session when you like 20 people pay $10,000 each to sit around a table with him for a couple of hours, and he'll go deep into each person and give them advice. But that's a very different. Yeah, that's another subject, really.
In actual fact, some of the inspiration there, let's say if Gary Vaynerchuk would have been into airsoft instead of what he did, which was buying and selling stuff on the cheap. Well, before that, as a kid, it would be gaming cards, and then going into buying stuff from supermarkets and cheap buy shops, pound shops, and selling them back out again. So from a perspective of actually going,
I was into rare records. So I was originally since I was at university, so that was in the late 90s or 95, 96 when I started uni. I then got into music and DJing and rare soul records, and I was trading rare soul records, and I was not just buying them cheap and selling them expensive. I was finding the most obscure records and then DJing with them and building demand around something that nobody knew. And then you build up the demand, and the records become more valuable, and you sell them. Use that money then to buy more obscure records and build them up again. I can see who you're. So you can see the connection now. You can see the connection now. Your brain working. You can see where the Kicking Mustang thing is going. So you're building content, creating demand around something. Yeah.
But it's you'll know this guy then, Jason from Hard to Find Records. If you know. I know Hard to Find Records. Yeah.
But
exactly.
That was a long time ago.
It was you create a need. I think I'll try to think of the name of the guy, but there's a phrase which was the ability to create want is the amazing thing. It's the most important thing. I'll drop this online. It's the guy who's got the 10 golden rules. He produced that book of how to win friends and influence people. But the point is that if you've got the ability to see a market and create want and create content around it, you'll generate momentum and interest. And as long as it's relevant, then that's where the momentum comes from.
Yeah. In 2003, I was doing a podcast before podcasts were even really a thing. And this was before Facebook. This was before we put them on YouTube. It was before what I had to do on a Friday night when I finished. We got back in from the office, and me and my friend, we would record the podcast and we'd post it up and I put it on my old website. And I knew the power of the podcast then. And I would be paying per person who listened to it. So every person who listened to it, I was having to pay 4 or 5 pence or something for every person. So I was paying to give the people these mix sets, and I was playing. It's a radio show, and I knew the power of that. And that radio, I was paying to distribute that to people who were interested in it, and then that would then raise my profile in the community, and then I would get gigs all around the world DJing on the back of that. So I was
okay. So all right, so you're exposing another aspect of marketing culture, which is essentially what you within YouTube is, but it's the same within the music industry. People moan that you pay to play, but if you don't pay to gather your audience and to market yourself as a curator or a selector or whatever it is, what essentially you are is just somebody back at home collecting records, collecting dust for your own chin stroke. But unless you are actually doing what most businesses would have to do, which is to pay to put it out there and actually make an outlay to market yourself as a brand or as an individual who has got a reputation for doing a particular thing, you'll actually remain stagnant. You'll just go nowhere with what you're doing. You might love dance music, but unless you pay to be part of the institution and part of the scene, and you
have to sacrifice something. You have to give something, whether that's you have to give something to get something back.
Yeah.
Always in anything life. I've got less than 10% battery left on my phone, boys.
Okay.
And my charge is in the car.
To James, because I think a lot of the stuff that we're talking about would require a conversation offline.
We can revisit it. My questions to you were just all about how you got into airsoft, how you got into YouTube, and your journey through that. So I mean, we can always revisit that if it's
We can do it another day, and if people got questions or they like, I'm happy to answer any questions. I don't whether you hate me and you think I'm a cunt. Sorry, you hate me. Sorry, James. If you hate me or you like me, and you've got questions, I don't like. If you've got something you want to ask me about, I'm happy to give my view. It's only an opinion,
Initially made for the stream was initially made to get difference of opinion and find out fascinating things that people might not be able to discover for themselves. So I'm fascinated with YouTube. I'm fascinated with people like yourself that are on YouTube and how it all works and how you come about to do it and where you got the skills from and your inspiration to do such a thing. So I know we've kind of gone off on a tangent and sort of touched on the less positive stuff. But yeah, by all means, if you want to come on and we'll just talk about the in-depth things that getting into YouTube, getting into airsoft as a whole, and where that journey came from for you, and where you think it might go in the future, then yeah, we can definitely revisit it. If you've got no battery, of course, that might be a long conversation.
It's a bit long with the battery I've got, but thanks for inviting me on. I'm very happy to come back on and answer any other, like if you want to chat about anything, really, I'm happy to chat about that. I've also got a game tomorrow, so it's getting late. At Anzo. So
okay. If you dial back on the stream, Anzo was like 25-30 minutes of the stream as well. So
was it?
Yeah, so like interested to hear what you've got to say about Anzo, and maybe it's a change of opinion on it. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not going to give away what we said at the start of the stream. If you've got a chance to watch it Monday, Tuesday, watch it.
I don't have I'm mostly going to play with Nico because my good friend name's Nico. So I'm mostly going up to meet him and have a game with him because we always have a giggle.
James.
Hey?
Whereabouts is he in the UK?
Stoke, near here.
Oh, he's quite local.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So as you can have a great field, and you can have great organizer, but if the players are crap, it ruins it. You can have a crap and a very average field and a very average organizer, or even a weak organizer, but if the players are great, you're going to have a good day. It doesn't matter.
Meeting Nico, was that something that came about through YouTube, or
he just kept bumping into my DMs, just coming into my DMs, badgering me, and I was like, "Fucking hell, you again? What are you up to?" And he said, "Oh, are you playing airsoft this weekend?" I was like, "No, I'm going to Belgium. Sorry, we won't be able to do it." And he goes, "Oh, I'll come with you." And that was it.
Okay.
If you want to pop back on, delve into that more stuff, and
we'll do that.
I appreciate you coming on, James, because you're putting yourself out in the limelight for people to just chat shit. But
thanks for having me.
I hope we've kind of swayed some people, because we speak, and I think Andy spoke with you as well, and it's a very different sort of experience in terms of what you see out on social media. And I think social media can be a very toxic place. So I've always given people the benefit of the doubt before I've made my assumptions on them. And I've had a very different experience with yourself than what a lot of other people have had, and no one would influence me otherwise to sway that decision either way. So I appreciate you taking the time, especially if you've been traveling and you're going to a game, to come on, and hopefully we can chat some more shit about YouTube and other bits. And
I appreciate what you do, James, at Bespoke. And I still remember back in, was it early 2017 when I first took I think it was the first trip I went to the Bears Head in France with a couple of the lads, and you sent a little care package to us to support us on the trip to the Bears Head, and we put some content out. And I don't forget that. You did that, and that meant a lot back then. So yeah, I appreciate that.
That was in the early days, so it was kind of like stringing together what I could. It's like, how can I? Because I liked your content at the end of the day, so I thought, what could I send to try and push your game a little bit further. So I think it was mags and some BBs and stuff, wasn't it? So
yeah, no, it was appreciated. You sent an AA mag, I think, for the VSR. If I remember rightly. Yeah. Well,
thanks very much, James. Appreciate you coming on.
Word.
And hopefully, just let me know when you're free again, and we'll sort something out.
Yeah. Apologies, I was driving. I had so much stuff to do this afternoon. I just got caught up, and but I'm glad we got the time we did. Thank you for having me.
Well, the benefit of it was we got through all of our bullshit chat all the way through. We got to the structured stuff at the back end of it, which is usually I'm arsehole and I'm slurring my words and just chatting shit. Whereas this time I stayed sober, had a hot chocolate and a couple of beers, and we got some relevant conversation out. So thanks a lot for entertaining me.
Bish bash bosh. We'll do it again. Have a great Christmas, boys, and thanks everyone for joining. Thank you.
James, you're staying on for a couple of bit. Parker.
Yeah, you want to go around? Yeah.
All right, cool.
Take it easy, boys.
Cool. It's just a bit of a decompress, because obviously he's dipped out now, so we can talk about him like he's not here. But
wow, that's your strong suit than mine.
Do you know what? Like I think obviously you've got a wider reach on YouTube as I've got on Arabs. But I think there's probably 5 or 6 people on Arabs that are going to be really wound up about what they've just seen, and I'm kind of glad for it.
What? It's people can say both sides, and people say, "Oh, you're pro Kicking Mustang," or "You're not pro Kicking Mustang." But I can only speak from the experience that I've had. So he's always spoke to me with respect, and he's been polite, and we've had a natter here and there.
Yep.
To the point where he's even come on, he's given me tips with some YouTube stuff. You know, we were talking not long ago when we were talking about the stream, and you know, he pointed out the hypocrisy that we had when we were talking about banter, which I was like, fair enough. We were drunk. Yes, you're right. And you know, we us two will probably be the first to hold hands up and go, yeah, 100%. We were being.
Yeah, but unapologetic. He's unapologetic for what he does, so I'm going to be unapologetic for what I do. You know, as long as I've not broken any laws, that's fine. However, like you can't say that there's not a different. When we had Dave Custom Airsoft on the Arrows page, you have to say that you saw a different light of him. And essentially, if you can see a different light of someone that you had a really negative opinion on, and you can see a little bit something more positive, or completely change your mind, I think that's my job done anyway. I'm not trying to prove that Satan is Jesus, but it's, you know, it's a different thing entirely where you think to yourself, are you really justified in hating somebody that much? You know
what? Who can take the time out of their busy day, whether they're working or whatever? He's obviously someone that's very busy, and just point out things to you to sort of benefit your reach and your page. And he was giving me pointers on YouTube, and you know, he was the first to say, you know, look into this YouTube Shorts thing and just put things up to catch people's attention. You know, you get the viewers in, and then you can, you know, use your content. And I don't do game footage, but I try to do like reviews and technical stuff. I dabbled in a bit of game footage like years ago, back in like 2011, 2012, which I'm probably going to re-upload to the bespoke YouTube at some point. He took the time. He didn't have to. And he was there, and he was discussing backwards and forwards, and he's like, try this, try that. And to be honest, it's helped. We've done a few YouTube Shorts. We've done I've looked at, you know, thumbnails and what do you call it, titles, and I've read a bit
all the things that YouTube likes to see: text, graphics, thumbnails, big arrows.
Perhaps do this or do this instead. And you know, the reach on YouTube, we were just about 6.9k subscribers, and you know, in the matter of a couple of weeks, we've gained another 250, 300 people. And I was like, oh shit, you know, what he's actually telling me his work. So
that works, yeah.
I've got respect for a lot of people these days. And I'll give anyone the time of day if they're polite and courteous, and he always has been to me. Same like you. We've always had a discussion, and I'd have a discussion with anybody that was conducting themselves in the same way.
Something that's really stuck to me, though, is his type of content is obviously magnified and accelerated. But there was a recent airsoft video about 4 or 5 guys that were just having a laugh, and they did all of that stuff, but they were just having a general laugh, and it was taking the piss out of their day and all the hiccups and all the mishaps. Then I remember, who's the guy that used to do Super Mega Tactical Airsoft, Stretch, and there was almost like a comedy sketch that they were doing about the Sistema. Do you know what I mean? So I think he's got this high impact headshots, brutal, like I said, the Quentin Tarantino, Fast and Furious aspect of filmmaking or movie making. But I tell you what, I'd love to see that guy who Stretch, who did that. Have you got a Sistema? Have you got a Sistema? I'd like to see a little bit more comedy in airsoft. I'd like to see a little bit more fun in airsoft. Jesus Christ, if somebody does the Monty Python of airsoft, do you know what I mean? Like, so maybe what he's angling to is, if you look at the quality of the content and you look at the relevance of it, because there's relevance of fun and comedy in airsoft, but it's how you polish that up. And what he touched upon in there is someone saying it's not good enough just to have a camera video, post it, and think that it's going to go somewhere. What you really need to do is think about whether it's captivating. And although I kind of like what he does on there, it's like, I don't watch Quentin Tarantino movies. I think they're overrated. But I would like to see somebody do the same level of filmmaking competence that he's got, but look at airsoft in a different fashion, from a fun fashion. You know, from a like I say, whoever's out there that can do the Monty Python of airsoft, do it. It's not me. Yeah. Do it.
Just going to try and raise a little bit. I'm really low on the camera for some reason. But yeah, like this chap on Facebook has said, sorry, it doesn't really say who's posted them on StreamYard, but I'd say KM came across as a nice bloke. Simon O'Brien saying evening. Another one here. Met James at Warchimp launch a few years ago. He was very pleasant and quite fascinating to talk to. Know a little about his history. I don't particularly care either. It's in the past. Love how his content and titles. He's successful at what he does, and I think that's, you know, a lot of people that talk shit. I've probably never spoke to him or met the guy. They just get this toxic hate online, and I think online and social media has a lot to do with it. And I think that's probably why I wanted to get him on, because I've had a very different experience, as what I've said before. And I think now you perhaps might have had a different experience now you've spoke to him personally.
Kind of, but there's another angle, and I didn't want. We haven't got time, and this is the batteries not included thing, not the Arabs thing. But there's another couple of tiers that I would like to get deeper into. There's some of it which is someone says, oh, his music, how he's promoted his music, and how he's understood the platform. The Gary V thing, I suggest to anybody to look at Gary V and understand where his motivation is. But then there's another aspect of his personality which I want to dig into a little bit. And you know, he's from a trading background. So if you look at the financial trading aspect of it, they can be notoriously ruthless and unscrupulous. And not to say that he's that type of person, but he's come from that culture. If he's come from the music world and he knows people in the music industry, we both know that I know that he knows some people in the music industry, and he sees how the music industry is actually similar to how the airsoft industry is. And I've said this before in my early streams. So there's another. He talks about tiers. I think there's the stuff underneath the skin, which is part of his determination, part of his resilience, and part of his direction that he's going, which isn't all glossy, nice, and positive. I think what he's done is he takes some of the grittiness out of his experience in the finance world and in life, and then applies that level of resilience and applies that level of I don't give a shit, and that's helping him push forward. And I don't want to quote her on this, but something that she said, despite the fact I don't quite see eye to eye to her, Kelly said this, which is if actually more people were concentrated on the shit they were doing and focused on that, they'd be more successful. And I think that's his angle. You know, if you actually want to take into some inspiration, whether you like people or not, is actually focus on doing your own shit and what matters to you rather than what other people are doing that you don't like. And maybe you'll be a little bit more successful. So maybe if I want to dig into that a bit of going, how are you so persistent or resilient when there is so much criticism, or why is it that small amount of criticism, if it is small, is such a driving factor? But like he said, if he wants to come back on and he wants to get the placid,
I'd like to get more people on. I'd like to get more people on that I have probably said in previous posts or feeds or whatever that I don't agree with. I'd like to challenge a different opinion. And you know, don't get me wrong, this is a complete different ballpark, but I've run out of audio books now in my commute down to London. So I started listening to a lot of Joe Rogan stuff.
Yeah.
He's very much the same. He challenges like different opinions. He gets people on the show that have different backgrounds. I just find it fascinating now, like to learn about people that I technically wouldn't have sort of interacted with before.
Mm-hmm.
So I've given Novrich his fair share of criticism over the years, and fair share of grief. But I'd happily get him on the show and talk about his brand, because I'm quite interested to know his sort of point of view from where he's come from and what he's doing. So,
but there is another tier of this, and like there's like these people that you talk about are wildly successful in their field, but there's some people out there in airsoft that could have capitalized on their impact on the scene. And you can look at somebody, I don't know, let's say Grill Weenwood, calling Grill Weenwood, he's nice, Will. But if you actually look at Will, and Will's somebody who had like a cult following of people that would have sniffed his boxer shorts, and yet he's not capitalized on being an airsoft influencer or any of that shit. He's got a full-time job with ASG, and he's more into rock climbing and going to the gym and keeping fit. So there's different inspirations to be taken from different people from all tiers, do you know? I don't think it is just about looking at the top 10 influential people in airsoft, whether they be business owners, content creators, influencers, dickheads, whatever it is. There's more people to take inspiration from. I think there's if you look at, let's say, Ryan from Backcountry Workshop, you look at somebody like, I don't know, Daniel Atkins, or you look at somebody who's got a small shop or a small business. There are levels to this inspiration game, and actually talking to somebody who is just starting out is just as important to somebody who's mastering their field. I'm in a day job. I've got a full-time day job. And eventually I'm going to take inspiration from somebody who's a struggling business person to think, screw it, I'm going to go into business in one way, shape or form, you know, and then it will require inspiration from somebody taking that initial leap right the way up to somebody who's the master at their trade. So, you know, everybody who's making leaps of faith and doing something, just taking that little step outside their comfort zone is inspirational. I don't know about you. I've run out of beer.
I'm not drinking anymore. I went down that rabbit hole a couple of weeks ago, and I woke up the next morning and I hadn't drank in a while, and I was like, "Oh Jesus Christ, I've ever done it."
You did the bottle, and I did the bottle.
I've now got to drive like.
Oh God!
Yeah, I did the bottle last time, and this time I've done 3/4, so I'm all right.
3/4 of what?
Of the same bottle I did last week.
What,
so the
what,
last.
what is it? What is it? What have you done?
I'm quite partial to a bit of Disaronno.
Oh, so you've gone in with the 20%. So I've been drinking the Remy Martin, but I only had about this much in there.
So last 2 weeks ago, I hadn't drank it in a long while, and I just did the whole bottle in the matter of like a couple of hours. But this week I've done about 2/3, maybe.
Yeah.
Before I could drink that stuff like it was Pepsi Max. I just nothing would touch me in terms of like spirits and such. I'm not a massive, not so good as drinking the beer and the cider, but I hadn't drank in a long time because of like COVID and shit. And we went in, and it's not that I go out and buy this stuff. I get gifted it. So my birthday, like someone bought me a bottle, and I just went through it. And honestly, last week or the week before, I can't remember what it was.
Yeah, we were shit faced.
I was trolled. I went to the toilet like 5 times. Or at least it felt like it.
I just remember trying to be a plastic roadman gangster. Anyway, I think this stream has gone a lot better. You know, it's been a lot healthier, a lot more constructive. You know, so maybe you continue to allow me to come and interrupt.
I expected more negative stuff in the comments, and to be honest, once he started talking, it kind of worked. It kind of worked what I kind of set out to do, and see if people's opinion would change, and it hasn't. So.
I don't think I gave it the full Andy treatment, but I think that's probably because I'd had 3 or 4 days worth of conversations with him about the more extreme shit that I would have brought to the table here and gone, oh, do you know what? It all falls into the same category. You know, I don't think it's important for me to just be controversial and ask overly challenging questions where all of the questions lead to the same path. You know, I try to give Dave from Customs Airsoft a bit of grief. There's no point. Because actually, in fact, Dave's a nice person. Just because I don't agree with everything that.
You know, there was a thing I heard on the radio the other day, and it was hit me like a brick in the head. And it was like, if you don't know, hang on, let me remember it. I had it in my head then, and it was, if you don't know me, or something like that. I'll come back to it when I remember it.
Yeah. Okay. I was just waiting like a massive Yoda thing. Go on, Yoda. Tell me.
If you hate me, you don't know me.
Yeah.
So if you truly hate me, you don't know me. And I was like, fucking hell, that actually does make a lot of sense, that does. Because most people that you hate, you probably don't know all that well. And you probably
if you hate me, you probably do. You know, so
well, yeah, you're that special case, aren't you?
Definitely.
Oh God, I've clicked on it. Oh, it's all bloody comments with "see you next Tuesday" now.
Really?
Oh,
right. Listen, should we box this off because like we're on 3 minutes 24, and actually we've been all right.
3 hours.
3 hours 24. Bloody hell. So
4 hours 20 last time, I think, didn't we? It's like,
oh yeah. Do you know? I wonder if we had. I don't know about you've got family, you've got a missus and 18 million cats, and I'll go see my ex-missus and I've got the 4 dogs and what have you. But eventually we should actually do a streamathon where it's 12 hours of just getting completely fucking smashed.
Hey, I'm down. Let's do it over Christmas.
Yeah, all right, cool. We'll do it.
Anyway, what else are we gonna do?
Yeah. Are you open over Christmas? Are you shut up now?
We are open. So postage is a bit of a bitch at the moment. I literally get called every 5 minutes going, when's my order being dispatched? And it's like, I'm not being funny, customer A, but you ordered 5 minutes ago. That type of thing. So we are just flat out. We'll close over Christmas for a few days.
And then back open again.
You know what? I expected, and I think every time we've done a stream, I've called out people and said, look, if you want to jump on stream, ping us a message and I'll send you the StreamYard link and you can join us. And with Airsoft as being associated, I'm surprised that no one has took us up on the offer, even just to chat some shit. Where are you all? Where are all the Arabs?
Chat shit, get pissed.
Where are you?
You know what? The thing was, people in the Arabs page, I didn't talk to them about the prospect of getting Kicking Mustang on. So if we leave it, I'm going to time code it and turn around and say, from 2 hours, wherever it is that he came on for there, he's the person that you all kind of really want to talk about all the time. You know what? And I think I'll probably lose some respect from people in there because we turn around, oh, Andy, you didn't give him as much shit as what we thought you were. And I said, well, sometimes it's not my job to give people shit, you know. But 12 cans down, failed at breaking into James's new alarms that he doesn't know he's buying yet.
That might be Daniel.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
I was talking to you about Ring doorbells and CCTV systems earlier.
Where is your place? Newbury.
Newbury.
Where's your shop?
Oh, it's in Slough.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. Fucking, it's so far away from North Devon. Everywhere's so far away from North Devon.
Slough isn't far away from North Devon.
Slough is.
It's like just west of London.
Yeah. Like, okay. Admittedly, I've been dating a girl in the Isle of Wight, which is like 3 hours to Southampton and a ferry over. You know what I mean?
Here we go. There's lots of people saying they'll come on the stream now. Scared of being ripped. Simon O'Brien, I'll come on the stream. I don't know who this is, Andy. You have to let me know. I'll come on the stream to chat shit.
Nicky Tay, chat shit, get pissed. I'll tell you what we'll do then. If we do,
I'd be leathered on tonight.
Phil Chalk getting pissed. I tell you, 12-hour stream, invite individual guests. I tell you what we could do. If we did this stream via MS Teams and we can invite loads of people in, we could have 40 people. It would like the Arabs Christmas party. I
think we can have up to 10 people.
Is it? Okay.
I don't think you'd want any more than that because it would be chaos.
Oh, well.
I think you'd be tripping over 40 people trying to talk at the same time.
Oh, well.
I think 10. I think StreamYard's about 10 or 20.
Is it?
When you get with StreamYard, you get really good, nice video quality compared to Zoom. Zoom's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
But Christmas stream, and we just get people on through the stream to meet the members of the group. I'd come on. I'll drop round to Airsmiths for a chat. Let's do it. Let's do a Christmas live stream. Let's just get knocked out. Yeah, whatever you want to do. Guys, if you want to do it, we'll set a date. I'll set a date. You watch me.
All right, cool.
You guys want to come on? We'll post the link.
Dude, did you just pick your nose and eat it? Me? Probably. I don't know. I don't give a fuck. Protein.
You got a snot bubble on going on right now.
No. All right. Hang on a second.
Oh, Andy. Oh, go wipe your nose.
No.
Give a time slot. We could do a time slot. Thing is, what happens in StreamYard is when you give you the link. Oh God, you need a tissue. You join the stream, and I get like a load of little windows at the bottom where people join in. And I can add them one by one. So I think we could have up to like 6 people talking at one time, easy. But who is going to have the balls to come on and just talk about whatever?
I don't know. Oh, Jenny's laughing around. I reckon if I was to pick my nose and get a big bundle of snot, I'd love to chase Jenny around her shop with my snot on my finger. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Jenny from the snot. There we go. Instead of Jenny from the block, it's Jenny from the snot.
Like I've said to you before, this stream is a bit more as well of a bit of a social. We can't see as much of each other as we can now. You're down God forsaken Devon anyway, in the middle of nowhere.
Stream game. Whoever says airsoft has to have a drink.
Yeah.
Phil Chalk. Phil Chalk's known me since I was a nipper. We'll do the vodka gummy bears. Do you know what? I might actually do it and do the THC edibles. I might just spike everybody with THC edibles so people can see what it's like to have stoned airsofters. Yeah, I can't be asked to play today. Yeah, I was going to sit down and eat pizza.
But George would be a nice chap to have on. That's Giraga Airsoft George Shankster, a friend of mine. He's good. Mm-hmm. He's done YouTube. He's done different bits and pieces. So yeah,
I tell you, it'd be good to get on here. Robin Lane, RS Lane, when she's pissed. Like, oh, Robin, brilliant, great friend of mine, love her to bits.
You know what? And even with this new fancy, because I mean, this has been a bit of a thing this week. When I bought a fancy, like proper streaming microphone, and this can do like a whole. So I could even get me and the missus on. We could jump on both of us.
Oh, look, those people in successful relationships and function are worse than me, while the rest of us that are relatively single. Yeah, okay, yeah. I have to just get.
Means I wouldn't have to exclude her from the office for another night.
Well, you know, I've got.
She's getting into airsoft. Well, she's getting into it. She's into airsoft, so.
Is she?
It'd be nice to get some women on, you know.
Actually, the girl that I've been dating and got a bit of a love interest in, she's been when I started talking to her, she calls me Budget Deadpool because I put all my airsoft stuff and started talking to her, and she goes, "You look like a Budget Deadpool," and that's her nickname for me, Budget Deadpool, and I'm Budget Harley. She's Budget Harley Quinn. So yeah, I feel really bad about dressing in my warrior assault system stuff there because she called it budget, which means I'm gonna have to go and get a C2R.
Why don't we put out like an invite to all? How many people have you had on that you would say are guests?
Ed Leo, matey boy from Silverback from the guy who does the really nice BBs. What's his name? Not Jeff's, the other one.
You know about Longbow?
Yeah, Longbow. Jason from Longbow. Get Dave on because he's going to be that. Dave from Customs Airsoft. He's going to be that uncomfortable guy.
It'll be a logistical.
Dave pissed will probably be the guy that puts his dick on the photocopier and then gets it. And then
do we just give back to the people that are watching and let them come on?
Yeah, yeah. Get the admins on from Arabs. Get Carlos Mario in there. Get Ryan from Backcountry Workshop. Get Ryan from Backcountry Workshop because I tell you what, a Marine unfiltered pissed. That'd be brilliant.
How is the mic quality anyway?
Mic check.
Is it worth the investment, George? I know you do a lot of camera and mic gear and stuff like that. Ooh. I hope I'm coming cross clear. I used to use the mic headset, but everyone told me that these microphones were going to be like really good, so I do need a boom for it. But I thought, you know, if we're doing a load of streams and such, then perhaps, you know, invest in a microphone. So I did what I did.
Well, I've got one of those LED things, which is not working today because I look all right. But I've got one of those LED things, and apparently, if I update my iOS on the phone, I won't get that glitchy robotic thing which we were suffering from earlier on. So, but yeah, all's good.
Oh, that's like internet related, though, isn't it?
No, it's said on the stream. I think if you're on Apple and you haven't updated to iOS 14 point whatever, you're going to get some stuttering if you're going through Safari. So
yeah. That's the whole iPod, iPhone, Safari stuff. I mean, I'm Android all day. Android, but it's good, man. Much better. It's clear on my TV. I'm on a HD tablet, and you're good on this end, so that's good. So. I mean, I don't know how much different it sounds to. Are you on a phone? I'll take you on a phone, an iPhone.
Yeah, iPhone.
Well, good. Hi, all. So, if you have just joined the stream, apologies. We've been going on for like 3.5 hours now. James actually joined us, 2.5 hours in, roughly?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He did. He joined us. He was good to his word. And he was in a hotel somewhere waiting to go to an airsoft game. So
no, that's not true. He was just waiting for the hookers to turn up. That's what he said.
Yeah. But quality of the mic was good. Only point where you were cutting out was when Kane was speaking a bit louder than you. But that's your call stuff taking his voice as a priority. That isn't that. I think it might just be a case he was on like a, you know, the headphone mics, which are quite close to his face. But who knows? When we're planning this, boys, what are we going to plan it for then, Andy?
Say again.
People want to know when we're planning the next live. When we're going to do it. Boxing Day stream.
Let me check my diary. My diarrhea.
So do you live? I take it you live by yourself, Andy.
Yeah, mate.
What's your? I'm not having a dig or anything. What's your like workload stuff like? Are you tend to be free on the nights or?
Okay, so next Friday is Christmas Day, and I'm sure we've got better things to be doing on Christmas Day than talking about airsoft.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And then the week after that is. I do you know. Why don't we do New Year's Day, which is the 1st of January, hanging as anything? And those people that are doing the carry on
live stream. I never do anything on New Year's because I think it's bullshit. So let's do it then.
New Year's Day is the next
Or New
Friday.
Year's Eve.
So the next 3 Fridays, the 25th is Christmas. Then the one after that is New Year's Day.
So,
The one after that.
Do you want to do it the New Year's Eve crossing over into New Year's, or do you want to do it on New Year's Day night?
I don't know. I'll be shit faced. I'm going to be shit faced from the 24th to the 1st. Pretty much. That is.
I mean, I never do anything on New Year's, and nobody can do anything on New Year's. So perhaps we have a live stream New Year's party.
Yeah. All right. Let's try and pencil that in. Yeah.
Guys on YouTube, guys on Facebook, just if you want to join us, let us know. I'll put the link up. We probably won't send the link out as like an open thing, so like 30 people join at once, because that would be chaos.
Yeah, exactly.
But perhaps people message and then we can send them the link in. And
I'd come on, but all I'd talk about is the KC02. Is that like that wooden air rifle thing looking?
Who said that?
Noah Burton.
I think he admins the KCO2 page and on Discord. So maybe
that's the one where you can take the real steel Ruger parts and then ruin it by putting airsoft bits into it.
Noah actually was very helpful, because he messaged me and he was like, do you want help with the AAP Discord? And he came on, didn't ask for anything, and he just completely sorted it out, did all the rooms, did all the technical stuff.
Really?
Yeah, absolute geezer.
I'm just Jenny with the Glock. Jenny Warez, not Jenny Wares.
Is that supposed to be a play on what's the name's song?
I don't care what you know. When I'm still Jenny with the Glock.
Yeah.
Used to have a little, now I've got a lot.
No.
There we go.
I don't know the pop stars' names, unfortunately.
Jenny's got a good idea. Instead of 10 individuals, 10 shops with guests in the shop.
Would that work though? Are the shops going to spend New Year's Eve going in the shop and letting guests in?
Yeah, but the thing is, they can invite their mates round and get sloshed in the shop. Like Jenny would probably invite Tyler Meaden from
once the restrictions up over Christmas, people won't be allowed to do that.
Dum dum dum.
I think let's not go heavy on the shops and such. Let's go heavy on the people, that, because there's like up to like 50, 60 people across the 2 platforms on today. Mm-hmm. So let's just get everybody in. So just have a laugh. Nothing planned. Chat shit, get pissed. Chat shit, get pissed. That's going to be the name of the.
I can like it. I don't want to call it Kicking Mustang, but yeah, James Bailey. That's his proper name in it. James Bailey could do like a soul DJ set in the background, and I could do some heavy techno, and everybody fucks off and leaves. Yeah, I'll do.
Party, live stream party.
Yeah,
I'm down for that.
I'll raise an empty glass to that. So we wrap up, call it quits. Where this exactly got fuck all drop left. Let's have a look what we've done. Let's have a review of what we talked about to make sure that we've not made tits of ourselves. We kept the C bomb down. Like, I think I did 1 or 2. He did 2 or 3.
They'll still ban it.
Really?
Yeah. If you say it once, they'll ban it.
What?
Not
do you mean
ban it. They don't. You lose your monetization. So, so they click an ad, which you normally earn on. They just basically limit that. But to be honest, we don't use
do you record it through StreamYard?
It saves it automatically, I think.
So why don't you go back through and duck the bombs and re-upload it?
Mate, doing that out of 10 minutes worth of footage is bad enough, but 3.5 hours.
I don't know. It's up to you. Right, on that note, I'm gonna have a hot chocolate. I'm gonna have a hot chocolate. On that note, I'm gonna have a hot chocolate.
Loads of people up for New Year's Eve. Let's do it.
Let's sort it out.
I'm gonna plot the live streaming on YouTube for New Year's Eve, and I'll do it anyway. And then if people join, sweet.
Today it'll just be us 2 lonely guys with guns in the background, chatty shit.
Well, you ain't got it. You need some guns in the background. I want you to drill some holes.
You already know. You already know. I've told you. Yeah. You asked, and what's in here? Yeah. What's in the cupboard? There you go. That's all people need to worry about. People don't need to know what's in the cupboard.
New Year's Eve. You're asking time. So New Year's Eve time. New Year's Eve live stream. It's going ahead. I'm going to say now. Let's do it.
Okay. Right. We'll plan it. Strictly, we'll plan it.
You can't go and say you're going to be busy at the pub, because you can't go to the pub anyway. So chat shit, get pissed. New Year's Eve, Arab stream, bespoke stream. Let's do it.
Chat shit, get
Always.
pissed. That's Nick Tay singing chat shit, get pissed. That's his phrase. He'll coin that. He'll bill us for that. Right. Love you and leave you. It's 5 past
Pleasure.
midnight. I'm going to go to
Pleasure.
bed sober
Right.
on a Friday.
I'm gonna go watch Mandalorian now.
I was crying. You'll come back to me and tell me if you're not crying, you're not human. Word. Bless.
Right.
Speak to you soon.
Right, catch you later. Ta. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This has been the stream. I'm just going to close off. We had quite a few people in watching over Facebook and YouTube. As always, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for those that engaged. Rough time, not sure. Probably like 8, 9 o'clock-ish. 8, 9 o'clock-ish on New Year's Eve. We'll do it. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next live stream. Appreciate everyone that's popped in. You're legends. And we'll see you in the next one. Cheers, guys.